Good evening and welcome to Baiju's exam prep. Am I audible and visible? Am I audible and visible? Ankush, good evening. Thank you, Anil. Good evening. Supraja, Brajneet, Bhimre, Simran, Kriti, good evening, all of you. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Thank you, Brajneet. Utkarsh, good evening. Akbar, good evening. Shivraj, Asama, Kavin Mosi, good evening. Right. So yesterday we were discussing the Delhi Sultanate. We have covered the slave dynasty. We came to the Khaljis. Then we have discussed as to why the Khaljis, the coming of the Khaljis is called a Khalji revolution. The most important ruler, of course, of the Khalji dynasty was Alauddin Khalji. And yesterday in the evening class, we have discussed in detail about Alauddin Khalji, his conquests, his extensive conquests, the revenue reforms, the military reforms, as well as the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. So here, so I had finished with Alauddin Khalji, but to quickly recap the last years of his life. So here, Alauddin Khalji fell sick in the last years of his life. He was suffering from bad health, and once he died in 1316. Alauddin Khalji. So he ruled from 1296 to 1316, a period of 20 years. So once Alauddin Khalji died, Malik Kafur seized the reins of administration in his hands. Malik Kafur, he had been the deputy sultan, Naib Sultan, you remember? He was the Naib Sultan, deputy sultan. So what did Malik Kafur do? He he placed Shihabuddin on the throne. Shihabuddin, Shihabuddin was the son of Alauddin Khalji and Kamala Devi, isn't it? And Kamala Devi. So he placed Shihabuddin on the throne, and then he imprisoned another son of Alauddin Khalji, namely Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. So Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji was imprisoned. So he was imprisoned, and another son of Alauddin by name Khizr Khan. Khizr Khan was killed. Khizr Khan was killed by Malik Kafur. But then, because of the way Malik Kafur was behaving, he was behaving in a high-handed manner. He was disrespecting the royal family, the family members of Alauddin Khalji, and the personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khalji did not like it. Within 100 days after the death of Alauddin Khalji, these personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khalji, they murdered Malik Kafur. They killed Malik Kafur. So Malik Kafur, within 100 days, was murdered by the personal bodyguards of Alauddin. Thereupon, we have Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, who came out of prison. So he came out of prison, this Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. He acted as a regent to Shihabuddin. He acted as the regent. Regent means representative. And then when he found an opportunity, he killed Shihabuddin. This Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji killed Shihabuddin and became the Sultan. So the next ruler after Alauddin Khalji was Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, the important ruler. Shihabuddin only ruled for a few months, right? And he was only a 6-year-old boy. Shihabuddin was only a 6-year-old boy. So he was easily killed by Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, who became the Sultan, right? So we continue from there. Can I? All of you clear? So we have discussed Alauddin Khalji yesterday in detail. So I'm continuing the story of the Khaljis after the death of Alauddin Khalji. Right? All clear? Visible and audible? Okay, let's continue. So today I'll finish the Delhi Sultanate chapter. We'll discuss the Tughlaqs, the Sayyids and the Lodhis, and then we'll come to the Mughals. and we'll try to cover as much as possible of the Mughal Empire. Now, Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, he was one of the sons of Alauddin Khalji. See, we have seen this. He killed Shihabuddin. He killed Shihabuddin. Please write on that. He killed Shihabuddin and usurped the throne. And he usurped the throne. That is, he snatched away the throne from Shihabuddin. And this is the only sultan who called himself as the caliph. He said, "I am the caliph." So he was the only sultan to declare himself as the khalifa or caliph. And he had a favorite. There were two brothers, Hassan and Husamuddin. Hassan was his favorite. And this Hassan was made the prime minister, who took the title of Khusru Khan. So his prime minister was Khusru Khan, a Hindu convert. So he the favorite of Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. And when this Khusru Khan found an opportunity, he killed this Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji and became the sultan. So Khusru Khan killed Mubarak Khalji and became the sultan next. In Khusru Shah, Khusru Khan became Nasruddin Khusru Shah. Nasruddin Khusru Shah, the only Hindu convert to sit on the throne of Delhi. He was the only Hindu convert to sit on the throne of Delhi. And we have seen that at the beginning of this topic. I've told you there were certain qualifications in a Muslim kingdom for a person to become sultan. Like, for example, he should be a free-born Muslim with no physical deformities. He should be a male adult. And of course, he should have knowledge of the Shariat. But these rules were not strictly followed. And mostly it was the sword which decided the issue. Here we see a Hindu convert sitting on the throne of Delhi and becoming the Sultan, Nasruddin Khusru Shah. But then he ruled only for a brief period of 100 days. We have the warden of the marches, that is the person in charge of the frontier areas in the northwest frontier. So here, the warden of the marches by name Ghazi Malik. So he, along with a few nobles, killed this Nasruddin Khusru Shah and ended the Khalji dynasty. And this Ghazi Malik took the title of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq and established the Tughlaq dynasty. So Ghazi Malik called himself as Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. So this was the end of the Khaljis, and then we come to the next dynasty, the Tughlaqs. Clear? Shariat, Pihu, I have told you this. Shariat that is called Muslim law. Right. So the next dynasty to succeed the Khaljis were the Tughlaqs. Now, the Tughlaqs succeeded the Khaljis. They ruled for the longest period of time. We have seen this. Out of the 5 dynasties, the Khaljis ruled for the briefest time or the shortest period of time. They ruled for only 30 years. Whereas the Tughlaqs ruled for almost 90 plus years, about 96 years. They were also of Turkish race, the Tughlaqs. But then Tughlaq, the word Tughlaq was the personal name of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Ghazi Malik is also called Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, and Tughlaq was his personal name. Whereas the Tughlaqs belong to the Karauna tribe of the Turks. They belong to the Karauna tribe of the Turks. Like, for example, the first dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate has been called as Ilbari Turks, isn't it? Because everybody belonged to the Ilbari tribe of the Turks, except Aybak, who belonged to the Aybak tribe of the Turks. So similarly, the Tughlaqs belong to the Karauna tribe of the Turks. But then Tughlaq was the personal name of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, the founder of this dynasty. Are you there with me? So Tughlaq was his personal name. Tughlaq was the personal name of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. It was the personal name of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq as such. So here Tughlaqs ruled from 1320 to 1414. Now, you see, the maximum territorial extent of the Delhi Sultanate happened under the Tughlaqs. Maximum territorial extent happened under them. In other words, you have the Tughlaqs bringing many parts of South India under their direct control. If we have seen Alauddin Khalji's conquest yesterday, he was happy with just tribute. He did not want to directly rule over the South, and he was a practical person in that sense. But then the Tughlaqs, particularly under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, conquered the kingdoms of Madurai and the Pandyas of Madurai and the Kakatiyas of Varangal. So these two kingdoms were conquered, and then we have an area called Kampili in modern Karnataka, which was conquered by the Tughlaqs. And this was the last major conquest. This was the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south, the conquest of Kampili. I'll come to that in some time. So the maximum territorial extent of the Delhi Sultanate happened under the Tughlaqs, right? So we'll talk about the Tughlaqs. The greatest was, of course, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and another important ruler after Muhammad bin Tughlaq was Firuz Shah Tughlaq. These are the two important rulers of the Tughlaq dynasty. So Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq was the founder. So what are the reforms he brought about? He reduced the land tax from 50% to 33%. Yesterday's class, if you remember, Alauddin Khalji was the first king in the history of India to charge 50% land revenue from the farmers. That was reduced to 33% by Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. That is number one. Secondly, state-sponsored irrigation began under him. That is, the government or the state gave money to farmers, to the people who wanted to dig wells, canals, etc. So state-sponsored irrigation began under Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Right? This is another one. Then in 1323, we have his son Prince Jauna. Understand this? Prince Jauna Khan. So Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq had a son called Prince Jauna, young boy, Prince Jauna. And Ghiyazuddin ordered Prince Jauna to take the army and conquer the Pandyas of Madurai and the Kakatiyas of Warangal. What is the reason as to why he was asked to conquer Pandyas and the Kakatiyas? Because they had stopped paying tribute to Delhi. After the death of Alauddin Khalji, they had proclaimed themselves independent and they were not paying any tribute to Delhi. Thereupon, Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq ordered his son Prince Jauna to attack and conquer the Pandyas as well as the Kakatiyas. So thereupon, the Prince Jauna attacked the Pandyas and conquered the Pandyan kingdom. The Pandyas, who had Madurai as their capital, and the Kakatiyas were also conquered, who had Warangal, modern Warangal, as their capital. So this was the end of the Pandyas and the Kakatiyas, and that was done by Prince Jauna. Now, understand this. There was a revolt in Bengal. When Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq was ruling Delhi, there was a revolt in Bengal against the Sultan. And Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq wanted to put down that revolt. So he took his army, from Delhi, and he began to march towards Bengal to put down that revolt. There was a Sufi saint in Delhi of the Chishti order. His name was Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia. Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia. Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia, when Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq was going away to Bengal to put down that revolt, he made a prophecy. The Sufi saint Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia made a prophecy. He said, the Sultan will not return back alive to Delhi. The Sultan will not come back alive to Delhi. Now, what happened? This was the prophecy made by Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia. Now, Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq went to Bengal with his army. He put down that revolt. Then he looted Bengal, plundered Bengal, and he was coming back from Bengal to Delhi. Prince Jauna was very, very happy. Prince Jauna, one of his sons, was very happy that his father was returning back from Bengal after a successful campaign. And Prince Jauna wanted to receive his father at the outskirts of Delhi. He wanted to receive his father at the outskirts of Delhi, and therefore he ordered the construction of a pavilion or a kushk. Understand this? He ordered the construction of a pavilion, or what is called kushk, a pavilion, something like a stage. Okay, so huge pavilion was put, or a kushk was put. It was made of wood, and you have thousands of people who had gathered to witness the coming of welcome the Sultan back to the kingdom, who was coming from Bengal. And then there was a stage also put as part of this pavilion. There was also a stage put. And on the stage sat Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. So Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq sat on the stage along with his favorite son, Mahmud Khan. So Mahmud Khan was his younger son and his favorite son. So both of them were sitting on the kushk, or the pavilion, wooden pavilion. Now, and thousands of people had gathered. Whatever war booty had been brought from Bengal was being displayed on the stage, like horses, elephants, diamonds, gold, etc. So all these were being displayed on the stage. So, for example, the horses will be made to march. So let us say this is a stage. This is a stage. Okay, this is a stage. So horses will get onto the stage, and then they will be paraded on the stage for everybody to see, and then they will get on from the other end. So like this, one by one, everything was being shown to the public who had gathered in large numbers around that pavilion. Then came the after the horses. Then came the chance of the elephants to be paraded on the stage. And on the stage sat Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq along with his son Mahmud Khan. Right. So when one of the elephants when one of the elephants happened to stamp on a particular part of the pavilion, the entire pavilion collapsed. The entire kush collapsed, crushing Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq and Mahmud Khan, his favorite and youngest son, under the weight of it. So the prophecy of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia turned out to be true. He had said that the Sultan will not come back alive to Delhi, and that's what happened. The dead body of the Sultan was brought back to Delhi. Now we have contemporary historians, two contemporary historians, Ibn Battuta. Understand this? Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta was a traveler from Morocco. He was from Tangiers, a place called Tangiers in Morocco, Africa. So he had come visiting India around that time. So Ibn Battuta, and we have another scholar called Isami, who writes a book called Futu Us-Saratin. Futu Us-Saratin. Now, these two scholars, Ibn Battuta and Isami, accuse Jauna Khan of patricide. They say that it was a conspiracy hatched by Jauna Khan, that is Jauna Khan, to kill his father and seize the throne. So he committed patricide, they say. Patricide is killing the father and seizing the throne. So they accuse Jauna of patricide, but historians don't agree to this. Modern historians don't agree to this. As what is the reason? I'll tell you later. Why modern historians don't agree to this? I'll tell you later when I come to Jauna Khan's story. So historians say, this was only an accident. It was only an incident. It was only an incident. It happened by accident. It was not a deliberate ploy on the part of Jauna to seize the throne. After mourning sincerely for 40 days, Jauna Khan ascended the throne of Delhi with the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So Jauna Khan became Muhammad bin Tughlaq. That's how he comes to power. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? Can you raise your hands? So you can see here on your screen. Hello, all of you. Am I audible and visible? Clear? Right. So, okay. So you can see on your screen here, I put a picture also. So in 1325, he suppressed the revolt in Bengal. And while he was coming back on the outskirts of Delhi at a village called Afghanpur village, he died due to the collapse of a pavilion, wooden pavilion. So that wooden pavilion is called Kushk. And he died along with his favorite son, Mahmud Khan. And this is the collapse of the pavilion. Okay. So Ibn Battuta and Isami accused Jauna of patricide. But I told you, historians don't agree to this. Why they don't agree to that, I will tell you later. So after mourning sincerely for 40 days, Jauna Khan ascended the throne of Delhi with the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, historians don't agree to this, Ankush. Why? I'll tell you later. Right? Fine. We'll come back here. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. What do you know about Muhammad bin Tughlaq? I'm sure you have studied about Muhammad bin Tughlaq in your school days. He is more popular for the policies, many of the programs and policies which all failed. So he's more known for that. What do you know about Muhammad bin Tughlaq? I'm sure you know something about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Just one says madman. Okay, madman. Okay, shifted the capital. Okay. Fickle-minded says sumo. Fine. Ankush says mad sultan. Okay. Right. Drama buzz. Okay. Roshan. No. Drama buzz. Okay. And people are irritated. Okay. Try to attack in winter. All policies have failed. Okay. Fine. So you know something about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Coins. Okay. Very good, Sakshi. Right. So, okay. So let's talk about this very fascinating, interesting person called Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Right. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, among all the Delhi Sultans. So let's talk about him. Interesting. So here, he was the most qualified amongst the Delhi Sultans. He had received a formal education, unlike other Delhi Sultans who had not received any formal education. He had received a formal education. He was the most qualified amongst the Delhi Sultans. Most qualified. What do you mean by most qualified? He knew many subjects. He many also languages. He knew Arabic, right? He had learned Arabic, Persian. Then he had mastered many subjects like mathematics. So mathematics, logic, philosophy, religion, etc. So he had mastered many subjects. He was a rationalist in religious matters. He was a rationalist. That is, he will not blindly believe anything which is told, right? He will subject everything to questioning. So rationalist in religious matters. So he'll subject everything to questioning. He'll not blindly believe anything which has been told to him. He'll question, and only when he gets a right answer, or sensible answer, only then he will follow if he wants to. So rationalist in religious matters, right? Muhammad bin Tughlaq is the person who was the first sultan. So I'll talk about Muhammad bin Tughlaq in a random manner. We'll discuss the PPTs later, right? So here he was the person who was the first to visit the tomb of Khwaja Nizam Hazrat Nizamuddin. The Khwaja Hazrat Moinuddin Chisti Dargah at Ajmer. So he was the first to visit the tomb of Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti, Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti at Ajmer. So in Rajasthan, in Ajmer in Rajasthan, there's a very famous saint, the Dargah of a famous saint, Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti. He was the one who introduced the Chisti order in India. And many people even now visit there, irrespective of religion, including Hindus, visit there. He is considered to be a true saint. He was the first Delhi Sultan. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the first Delhi Sultan to visit the tomb of Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti and pay his respects. Similarly, Muhammad bin Tughlaq is the person who built the dargah, who built the tomb. He built the tomb of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia at Delhi. So if you go to Delhi by train, there are two railway stations. One is the New Delhi railway station, and then there's the Hazrat Nizamuddin railway station. It has been named after this Sufi saint called Nizamuddin Aulia. So he built the tomb of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia at Delhi, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Nizamuddin Aulia was a very true saint. I have visited the Dargah when I was in Delhi many years back, and he saw the rule of 7 Delhi Sultans. And he was the one who said that the Sultan will not come back alive to Delhi. He had prophesied the death of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq even before it happened. Right? We have discussed about that. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a person who, understand this, he was the person who conquered Kampili in Karnataka. So he conquers an area called Kampili, conquered Kampili in Karnataka. Kampili in Karnataka, present day Karnataka. And this conquest of Kampili by Muhammad bin Tughlaq is considered to be the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. The last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. Right? So keep that in, that is very important. Keep that in mind. So he was the one who conquered Kampili. So let us understand what are the circumstances which led Muhammad bin Tughlaq to conquer Kampili in Karnataka. Because this is the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. So let me, so I'll be repeating this story when I do Vijayanagara kingdom, right? So now look here. So this is Delhi. Let's say this is Delhi, right? And in the present region of Karnataka, somewhere here, there was one small area called Sagar in Gulbarga. So there was a small area called Sagar in Gulbarga, present day Gulbarga. And a cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the governor of this place. His name was Bahauddin Gurshap. The governor of Sagar in Gulbarga, Karnataka, was this man called Bahauddin Gurshap. Bahauddin Gurshap. Now, Bahauddin Gurshap revolted against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was a cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, this Bahauddin Gurshap, who was ruling over Sagar in Gulbarga, present-day Karnataka. So when he revolted against Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked him. So he attacked Sagar in Gulbarga. Bahauddin Gurshap was defeated. And somehow he managed to escape. Bahauddin Gurshap escaped and he came running to another kingdom in present-day Karnataka called Kampili. So there was another kingdom, small kingdom called Kampili. So imagine this is Kampili. Okay. So this Bahauddin Gurshap came running to Kampili and sought the shelter of the Kampili king. He sought the shelter of the Kampili king. And the Raya of Kampili, the king of Kampili, gave protection to or asylum to Bahauddin Gurshap. Right. Now, you see, you have the, I told you, has Jauna Khan, no, Muhammad bin Tughlaq's real name was Jauna Khan. And when he was a prince, he had conquered the Kakatiyas of Varangal and the Pandyas of Madurai. So this was the Kakatiya kingdom. So this was the Kakatiya kingdom. Kakatiyas. And in 1323, they had been conquered, right? There were two brothers here, I believe. There were two brothers serving under the Kakatiyas. These two brothers were Harihara and Bukka. Harihara and Bukka. They were serving earlier under the Kakatiya kingdom. Once in 1323, the Kakatiya kingdom was conquered by Jauna Khan. These two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, came to the kingdom of Kampili and they sought employment under the Kampili king. And the Kampili king appointed them as the governors of Anegundi. So he appointed these two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, as the governors of this place called Anegundi in Karnataka. So they were serving as governors here, these two brothers. I'll repeat this story, just hold on. So here, Bahauddin Gurshap revolted against his cousin Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Sagar, defeated Bahauddin Gurshap. Gurshap came and took shelter under the Kampili king. And that resulted in Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacking Kampili. So when Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Kampili, we had the Kampili king fighting against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And these two brothers also fought, Harihara and Bukka, who were serving under the Kampili king as governors at Anegundi. They also went to assist their king, the Kampili king. But all of them were defeated. The Kampili king was killed, right? Bahauddin Gurshap was also killed, and Harihara and Bukka were taken captive to Delhi and made prisoners. They were reduced to prisoners of war. And later they were converted to Islam. They were forcibly converted to Islam and reposted in the south to control rebellion. Because these two boys were very potential. They had a lot of potential, Harihara and Bukka. But when they were serving in the south, these two boys, they came under the influence of the pontiff of the Shankaracharya Mutt, the Sringeri Mutt at Shankaracharya. His name was Vidyaranya. He was the head of the Mutt at Sringeri in Karnataka. He reconverted them back to Hinduism and inspired them to found a kingdom in the south, which will give protection to the people of the south from the invading armies of the north. This is called the Telugu origin theory of Vijayanagara. I'll come to that. I'll repeat this story later. So Kampili was the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south, and that was done by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Did you understand? Hello? Did you understand the story? Whatever I just now told you. Okay, so this is called the Telugu origin theory of Vijayanagara. There are two theories regarding the origin of Vijayanagara. We have the Telugu origin theory and the Kannada origin theory. I have just now explained to you the Telugu origin theory. When I come to Vijayanagara, I'll again repeat that. But this was the context in which Kampili was conquered by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And this was the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south, the conquest of Kampili by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Right, I move on. So he conquered Kampili in Karnataka. Then, of course, you see um, Muhammad bin Tughlaq is the person who, according to Barani, so we have a contemporary historian called Ziauddin Barani. Ziauddin Barani. Barani gives us five projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And all these five projects were failures. His intention was very clear. His intention was perfect. But then, whenever he tried to implement his projects, they all failed. And he was also very, far beyond his times. He was a visionary in many respects, and he had a lot of ego. So he was an intense egoist. And many times his thoughts or ideas were far beyond his age, and therefore people could not understand him. And whenever he tried to implement a project, those projects failed because it was ill-timed. He was hasty by temperament, very enthusiastic to implement a project, right? Without thinking about the pros and cons of that project. So whenever an idea came to his brain or somebody told him a particular idea, it excited the Sultan, and immediately he will order the implementation of it without looking at the consequences of it. And only when something happened wrong, then he will think of the consequences. He will not even bother for that matter. Another idea he will start again, start a fresh project without bothering about the previous project. So he therefore angered his subjects because of his ill-tempered and ill-timed policies. So he's been called by various epithets. He's been called as a mad king, as some of you have called him as a mad king already. So he has been called as a mad king, freak of nature, an intense egoist, an ill-starred idealist. So ill-starred idealist, a freak of nature, etc. And when he died, people rejoiced. They were very, very happy to know that he died. So and they rejoiced. So we'll talk about his projects, and come to other aspects of his rule. So highly qualified, a most qualified among the Delhi Sultan who had received a formal education. We'll talk about it. Like a UPSC candidate, he knew many subjects. He would study many subjects, and he was also having a prodigious memory. He had a brilliant memory. He would never forget anything. But then, with all those good qualities, all his projects failed because of his hasty and uh, uh, hasty and ill-balanced nature. So let us talk about the projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, right? Ziauddin Barani, on your screen, Ziauddin Barani mentions his five projects. Now, again, I'll tell you the same thing. Don't need to remember the years. Don't need to remember the years. Remember the sequence of the policies or projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. If you can remember the year, nothing like it. But if you don't remember, doesn't matter. Just remember the sequence of projects which he implemented. First of all, the first project of his is transfer of capital, 1326 to 27, transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Delhi to Devagiri. Now, let us understand the first project of his, transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq thought of transferring his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. What is the reason for this? Understand this. So this is India. So Devagiri was in Maharashtra, present-day Maharashtra, somewhere here. So imagine this is Devagiri. This is Devagiri, right? So this is Devagiri. And this is Delhi. What is the distance between Delhi and Devagiri? The distance was almost 1,000 kilometers. 1,000 kilometers. Muhammad bin Tughlaq thought of transferring his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. So what is the main reason? What is the I told you he was a rationalist by nature. He was a person who thought deeply. So here he thought about the following reasons as to why he felt like transferring the capital. Number one is South India was recently conquered. So I told you he was the one who conquered the Pandyas of Madurai and the Kakatiyas of Varangal. So South India had been recently conquered, and he felt that if he has a centralized capital, then he'll be able to take care of both North India and South India very efficiently. He'll be able to administer both the parts of India, North and South, equally efficiently. So this is number one. So he wanted a centrally located capital. Centrally located capital. So if you ask me, was he right in thinking like that? I'm sure all of you will say yes. Most of you, almost all of you will say yes. Right. So centrally located capital. Hari, yesterday's class, Yadavas, no, nobody was ruling Yadava. I told you, no, Singhana the third. Singhana the third was, he rebelled against Alauddin Khalji, and Malik Kafur came and killed him and annexed Devagiri. So Devagiri was directly under the Delhi Sultans. Hari, yesterday's class, right? So it was South India was centrally located. That is number one. Number two is Delhi was not a safe place because you have frequent Mongol attacks. So frequent Mongol attacks. So he wanted to give a safe capital. He wanted to give a safe capital to his people. Okay, so he wanted to give a safe capital because Delhi was subjected to frequent Mongol attacks. So thinking like this, he decided to shift the capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Now, please understand, no mass exodus took place. He did not order the entire population of Delhi to shift to Devagiri. He only ordered the ulemas, understand this, the ulemas, that is the religious gurus, the religious teachers, the elite sections of the society, the administrative staff, the rich classes, the elite sections, the administrative staff, to shift to Devagiri. But before he shifted people to Devagiri, he laid a 1,000-kilometer road. So he laid a 1,000-kilometer highway, and then every 8 kilometers, you have sarais opened. Sarais are rest houses. Sarais were opened. Shady trees were planted, or rather the roads were made where you have a lot of shady trees, so that people can take rest. And in these sarais or rest houses, we have water, food, fodder, etc., kept in plentiful. So that the weary travelers can quench their thirst, eat food, take rest in the sarais, and continue their journey. So he laid a 1,000-kilometer road and then ordered the people of Delhi to march. And Devagiri was renamed Daulatabad. So he renamed Devagiri as Daulatabad, the city of paradise, Daulatabad. So he ordered the construction of a palace there, a fort there. All those constructions were going on. And simultaneously, he ordered the shifting of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. And among the people who came to the south were also Sufi saints. Many Sufi saints from Delhi came to South India. Engineers, architects, painters, they also came in this transfer of capital. Right. And Devagiri served as a capital for about 6 years. For 6 years, it was the capital. And people were not very happy with this transfer of capital because when he ordered the people of Delhi to move to Devagiri, it was a long distance, 1,000-kilometer distance from Delhi to Devagiri. Many people died on the way because they could not take the exhaustion of the journey. And among the people who died was Isami's parents. You remember? Isami had accused Jauna of patricide. So Isami's parents were one of the victims of this transfer of capital. So that's why historians don't agree to Isami's opinion that Jauna committed patricide. He had a personal grudge against Jauna Khan or Muhammad bin Tughlaq to accuse Jauna of having committed patricide. Therefore, historians don't agree to the opinion of Isami. So Isami's parents died in this transfer of capital, and Isami accuses Jauna of patricide. Right now, Devagiri or Daulatabad served as a capital for 6 years. Now the Mongols came to know, even the Sultan had shifted to Devagiri. The Mongols came to know that the Sultan was absent in Delhi. And what they did is they attacked Delhi, or they attacked the outskirts, they attacked the kingdom, they did some plunder, looted, plundered, and went back. And then Muhammad bin Tughlaq also realized that just as he was not able to control the south sitting in the north, he was not able to control the north sitting in the south. So he also realized that this was not a good idea on his part. And after 6 years, he changed his mind. And then he reshifted the capital back to Delhi. From Devagiri, he reshifted the capital back to Delhi and again ordered the people of Devagiri whoever had shifted to Devagiri from Delhi, to move back to Delhi. He asked them to get back to Delhi. Now, again, many people died on the way because of the long distance and the exhaustion. Right? This is the first experiment of his which failed. The transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Are you there with me? Clear? And please understand, what is the effect of this transfer of capital? What is the effect of this transfer of capital? The beneficiary of this transfer of capital were the Bahmani sultans. The Bahmani kingdom was established during the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Bahmani kingdom. It was established in 1347. I'll come to that in some time. Just hold on. One of the officers under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, his name was Hassan Gangu. Hassan Gangu rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he proclaimed himself independent and established the Bahmani kingdom with Gulbarga as capital. Modern Gulbarga in Karnataka has its capital. Later, the capital was shifted to Bidar. And this Hassan Gangu took a title, Abdul Muzaffar Alauddin Bahman Shah. So Hassan Gangu called himself Abdul Muzaffar Alauddin Bahman Shah. So the word Bahmani is from there, Bahman Shah. Anyway, we'll come to that. So I told you many architects, engineers, painters, Sufi saints, they came away to South India when Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred the capital from Delhi to Devagiri. But when he reshifted the capital back to Delhi, these architects, many of them, these architects, engineers, painters, Sufi saints never went back to Delhi. They stayed back in the south and they sought employment under the Bahmani sultans, thus enriching the culture of the south. That is one of the impact. We'll come to that later. So this is the first experiment of his, transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Are you clear? Can you raise your hands? Can I move on to the next experiment of his? Transfer of capital, right? Then second experiment of his is increased land revenue in the Doab. You can see here, increased land revenue in the Doab. Now, what do you mean by Doab here? The Ganga Yamuna Doab. Increased land revenue in the Doab. That is the Ganga Yamuna Doab. The fertile belt of land between the Ganga and the Yamuna. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq thought, imagine this, think like Muhammad bin Tughlaq. You put yourself in his place and you see whether what he did was right or wrong. Now, this was a very fertile area, Ganga Yamuna Doab, fertile belt of land between the Ganga and the Yamuna. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq thought people of the Ganga Yamuna Doab should pay 50% land revenue. They should pay 50% land revenue. Why? Because a very fertile area, there's no dearth of water. Therefore, they can easily pay 50%. And after all, you remember yesterday's class, Alauddin Khalji had charged 50% land revenue over the people of his empire. So when he had implemented 50% throughout his empire, why can't people of the Ganga Yamuna though pay 50%? So he seems to be correct in his thinking. 50% land revenue can be easily paid by the people of the Ganga Yamuna though. Fertile belt of land, no problem of water. So he ordered the implementation. And also he imposed additional taxes. What are the additional taxes he imposed on the people of the Doab? Additional taxes. What are the additional taxes? Understand this. Ghari, yesterday's class, Ghari, house tax. Ghari, Chari, fodder tax. Fodder tax. Chara, fodder tax. So depending upon the number of cattle you have, you pay the tax. If you have less number of cattle with you, then you pay less tax. If you have more number of cattle with you, you pay more tax. So 50% land revenue to be paid along with Ghari and Chari. And then please understand, he imposed 50% not on the actual revenue, but on the estimated revenue. Sorry, not on the actual revenue, not on the estimated revenue, but on the actual revenue. Let me explain this. So he charged 50%, he demanded 50%, not on the, understand this, you have something called Jama and Hasil. These are Mughal terminologies, Mughal revenue terminologies, but I'll be using them in this context to make things clear. What is Jama? Jama is estimated income. Estimated income. And what is Hasil? Hasil is actual income. Now, what is the meaning of this? Now, understand this. Let's say there's a piece of land. There's a piece of land, 2 acres. And a person called A is the owner of this plot of land. A is the owner of 2 acres of land. And A, this farmer called A, feels that if rains come on time, there's no pest attack, no animals like elephants destroying part of his crop, etc., and everything goes smoothly, he'll be able to reap, let us say, 200 bags of paddy. He feels he can grow 200 bags of paddy this year. Okay, this year. This is his Jama. This is what he has estimated. This is called Jama. Okay, that is his estimation. Now, after the harvest, what he actually gets is maybe only 75 bags. Why? Because rains did not come on time, or they came very late, or they came too much. Too much rain came and destroyed his crops, or elephants came and destroyed a part of his fields. They ate away the crops, etc., etc. Or there must have been a pest attack. Part of his crop was damaged because of pests, etc. So agriculture is subject to the vagaries of nature. So therefore, the actual is 75 bags. That is called hasil. जो हासिल हुआ, जो हाथ में हासिल हुआ, that is called hasil. Now he charged 50% not on the hasil but on the uh, not on the hasil but on the estimated income, right? So this is what he did. Are you there with me? Okay. Now what happened is, after the harvest, around that time, when actually the harvest would take place, the tax collectors went to the farmers and they demanded land revenue from the farmers. The farmers refused to pay. The farmers refused to pay. And when Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know about it, he ordered his officers and soldiers to teach the farmers a lesson, beat them up, thrash them up, and then extract taxes from them. So, out of fear, what happened is the farmers abandoned their houses. They locked their houses. They left the cattle on the streets and ran away to the neighboring forests, in the nearby forest. And they were staying in tents there, or in the, they made a canopy there in the forest and they were living under the canopy. So, what was the reason for this? If they stay in the house, in their own hut, they have to pay house tax. If they have tied cattle in front of their house, they have to pay taxes even on those cattle. That is called cherry. And then apart from land revenue, they have to pay house tax and fodder tax. So to solve all the problem, they abandoned their houses. Then they left the cattle on the streets and they ran away to the neighboring villages. Right? And they refused to pay taxes. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered his soldiers to thrash the farmers. As a result, you have the soldiers committing all sorts of atrocities on the farmers, beating them up to extract taxes from them. And there was a general revolt in that area. People are refusing to pay taxes. And then after all this complication, somebody came and told Muhammad bin Tughlaq, sir, how can the farmers pay 50% land revenue? Because the rains have failed. There's a famine going on. Understand this. There's a famine going on in this area. Rains have failed. The farmers have not done any agriculture that year. So how can they pay 50% land revenue? Then Muhammad bin Tughlaq simply said, I did not know that. What did I know? I did not know that there was a famine, that rains have not happened. Therefore, there was no harvest that year. So therefore, he opened an agriculture department. He established an agriculture department. Diwan-e-Kohi. Diwan-e-Kohi. This is the agriculture department. Okay. And this agriculture department gave loans to farmers like Takkavi and Sondar loans. Sondar loans. These are loans given to farmers to buy seeds, to dig wells, canals, etc. Farmers became still more angry because unnecessarily they had received beatings from his soldiers. And now the Sultan had given them an ointment in the form of loans like Takavi and Sondar loans. So people became very, very angry with him. This is the second experiment which failed. He had implemented it without knowing that rains had failed in that area. There was a famine going on. There was dearth of water, and therefore there was no harvest done by most of the farmers. But he had implemented 50% land revenue to be extracted from the farmers, along with 50% also taxes on house and fodder to be given. So this experiment also failed. Did you understand? Clear? This is the second experiment he failed. So he was a person who, he got an idea, he'll implement it immediately without thinking of the consequences, whether it's the right time. No, it was ill time. Basically, his idea was not bad, but then it was ill timed because that year rains had failed in that area. There was shortage of water, and though it was the dope, it was shortage of water. Therefore, farmers, most of them, had not engaged in agriculture. So how can they give 50? How can they give 50%? This is the second experiment which failed. Increased land revenue in the dope. Are you there with me? Can you raise your hands? Any doubts? Can I move on? Okay, then we have the third experiment. The third experiment of his, token currency, introduction of token currency. Now understand this. I'm going to open another page here. Introduction of token currency. Token currency. So you all know that it was Iltutmish who had introduced the silver tanka and the copper jital. Silver tanka and the copper jital. These are the two official coins of the Delhi Sultanate. Copper jital. And one tanka is equal to 48 jitals. Like 1 rupee is equal to 100 paise. Like that, one tanka is equal to 48 jitals. Right? Now, there was, understand this, during the period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, there was a global shortage of silver. There was a global shortage of silver. Throughout the world, there was a shortage of silver, global shortage of silver. Including in the Delhi Sultanate. And probably Muhammad bin Tughlaq had come to know or heard about the contemporary rulers of two states who had introduced paper currency. So two rulers of his contemporaries had introduced paper currency. These two rulers are Gai Khatun of Iran, Gai Khatun of Persia or Iran, and Kublai Khan of China, the Mongol king of China, Kublai Khan of China. These two rulers had introduced paper currency in their kingdom. They had introduced paper currency, and probably Muhammad bin Tughlaq had heard about it. Now, a brilliant idea came to his mind. Muhammad bin Tughlaq got a brilliant idea. What was the brilliant idea? He decided to introduce bronze coins in place of silver coins, and he declared bronze coins as the legal tender, whose value will be equal to that of silver coins. So he introduced bronze coins. Okay, and he ordered that the value of the bronze coins henceforth will be equal to that of silver coins. So the government began to mint bronze coins. You have clear Arabic and Persian letters inscribed on those coins or minted on those coins, and he released them into the market. Now, this was a brilliant experiment or a brilliant measure on the part of the Sultan. And for this particular experiment of his, we have a British historian called Edward Thomas. Edward Thomas, a British historian, calls Muhammad bin Tughlaq as the prince amongst moneyers. Prince amongst moneyers. He calls him as prince amongst moneyers. That's what he calls him. Edward Thomas, a brilliant idea which was implemented by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Bronze coins whose value will be equal to that of silver coins. And he declared bronze coins as the legal tender. Okay, now what happened? Now our fellows, we Indians are not ordinary people. We are jugados. From the beginning, we are jugados. No, everybody is not innocent. We are, we know how to avoid the law. For example, you see in the traffic signals what all happens, right? We know how to hoodwink the police. So here, some of our fellows, they understood that this is made of bronze. And all, as you all know, bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. It is a mixture of copper and tin. When you mix copper and tin, you get bronze. So everybody knew it. And people who did not know it, they were taught by the others who knew about it. Everybody had copper vessels in their houses. Everybody had copper utensils in their houses. So they went to the market, brought some tin. They brought some tin, and then they began to melt the copper vessels in their houses. And the tin was also melted, right? And they mixed both. And they began to make bronze coins in their houses. So everybody's house became a mint. Everybody is busy making coins in their houses. So everybody's house became a mint. Busy making coins. Did you understand? So they had copper vessels in their houses. They went and brought tin from the market, mixed both of them, and then began to make bronze coins, and it exactly looked like the government's bronze coins. So they filled up their pocket with those duplicate bronze coins, and they went to the market, and they began to demand goods from the merchants and traders. Now, the traders and merchants suddenly were surprised as to how everybody is having so many bronze coins with them. After some time, they refused to entertain those bronze coins. They refused to accept those bronze coins. So here, please understand, we have an economic law which was under application. That is called the Gresham's law. Gresham's law was being applied here. That is bad money. What is Gresham's law? Bad money drives out good money. Bad money drives out good money. That is, people were not only the traders and merchants were not only accepting they had stopped accepting the counterfeit coins. They had also, along with that, stopped accepting the original coins which had been released by the government, because they were not able to differentiate which is the original, which is the counterfeit. Did you understand? So bad money drives out good money. So here this experiment failed only because Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not have the technology to prevent counterfeit coins. If he had the technology to prevent counterfeit coins, then it would have been a brilliant experiment. But whatever it is, Edward Thomas, because of his innovative thinking, has called him as prince amongst moneyers. So did you understand? Now what happened? So that's called Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. So you have the wheels of the economy which had come to a standstill. Wheels of the economy had come to a standstill because the shopkeepers are not accepting any coins, any bronze coins, even if it is original bronze coins. Now the matter came to the notice of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Sir, nobody is accepting the coins. Along with the duplicate coins, even the original coins are not being accepted. What to do? That's what was the question before the Sultan. Now Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered. He told that this farman be implemented, order be implemented. That for every bronze coins returned to the treasury, that person will get a fresh silver coin. If you return one bronze coin, you will get one silver coin in return by the government. Now, once this order was passed, and the people came to know, his people, the subjects of the Tughlaq Empire, began to produce more bronze coins. They began to make more bronze coins in their houses so that they can take those bronze coins and exchange it for a silver coin. Did you understand? And when Ibn Battuta, the Moroccan traveler, entered the city of Delhi at that point in time, he tells us in his book Rehla that he saw heaps of bronze coins dumped on the streets of Delhi. So heaps of bronze coins had been dumped on the streets of Delhi. So this is the experiment, the third experiment, which was a failure. It had a telling effect on the treasury. The treasury, bore the brunt of this particular experiment because huge amount of silver coins, whatever was there in the treasury, had to be given away. It went away into the market. Yeah, bad money drives. Yeah, that is what it is. The bad money is the counterfeit coins, not black money. Bad money is this. The bad money drives out good money. Did you understand? So the counterfeit coins, like for example, you go to a market and understand this very simple. What is the meaning of Gresham's law? You go to a market for the first time. You're going to that shopkeeper, let us say, and you buy a basket of apples, right? Your mother has told you or your father has told you that a lot of guests are coming. You bring a basket of apples, 5 kg. Let us say 5 kgs of apples in a basket. You get it. You bring it. So you go to this shopkeeper, and you see that on the top of the basket you have lovely apples, beautiful Shimla apples, or then you pay the money and you presume that the entire basket is containing the same type of apples. So looking at the apples on the top, you pay the money and you bring it. When the basket is opened, below the good apples, you get rotten apples, bad apples. So what will happen? Next time you will not go to the shopkeeper because the bad apples have driven away even the good apples from the market. Did you understand? That's the meaning of Gresham's law. समझ में आ रहा है ना? All of you, clear? So this is the third experiment which failed, but anyway, it was a brilliant thinking on the part of the Sultan, for which he has been called Prince amongst moneyers. Can I move on to the next experiment of his? Okay. Then we have the Khorasan campaign. Khorasan campaign. So transfer of capital, increase land revenue in the token currency, Khorasan campaign. Now I'll use another page. Khorasan. Where is Khorasan? Khorasan is in West Asia, near Iraq. So this is a place near Iraq, present day Iraq, in West Asia. Now, there were some ministers, some nobles in the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq who were from West Asia. They were from that area. They had come all the way and sought employment in the government of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. They were from that region of Khorasan, West Asia, etc. So one day they came running to Muhammad bin Tughlaq in a delegation, and they told Muhammad bin Tughlaq, "Sir, why can't you think of conquering Khorasan? Because the political authority there has become weak. Therefore, you should take the army and conquer that area." Now, immediately, Muhammad bin Tughlaq bought that idea. He did not inquire how far is Khorasan, what are the logistical problems which would occur to march all the way to Khorasan, and how far is it. He did not inquire. He bought that idea, and he decided to attack and conquer Khorasan. So what the Sultan did is he organized an army, a separate army. He already had an army, a standing army. So he recruited another army of 3.70 lakh soldiers, almost 4 lakh soldiers. 3.70 lakh army was recruited afresh by him, new army, and he gave them 1 year advance salary. 1 year advance salary was given. 12 months of advance salary was given to these 3.70 lakh soldiers. And then he told these soldiers and officers, you keep exercising, keep your war exercises going on. And when I order you to march to Khorasan, you should comply with my order. So the soldiers were very happy because they had got a government job. They were getting salary, that to 1 year advance salary they have got. So the soldiers and officers were very happy, and they were doing their military exercises, etc., to ultimately be fighting fit to go to Khorasan, to march to Khorasan. Now, after a few months, the situation in Khorasan changed. A very powerful ruler came to power there. The political situation changed. A very powerful ruler came to power there, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know about it. Then he abandoned that idea. He decided to give up that idea of marching and conquering Khorasan, and he disbanded that army. He disbanded, that is, he sent away his soldiers home. All the 3.70 lakh soldiers lost their jobs. He disbanded the army, and that again added to the anger and frustration amongst these soldiers, because they were very happy that they had got a government job, and now suddenly they lost everything, including salary and the job. And that added to the frustration. And again, you see, for nothing, he had paid them 1 year advance salary. That again had a adverse impact on the treasury. The treasury became more depleted because of this. This is the Khorasan campaign, right? This is the Khorasan campaign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Clear? I hope you're enjoying Muhammad bin Tughlaq's, antics. So this is the Khorasan campaign. And then lastly, we have the Karajal expedition. Yeah, we have the Karajal expedition. So Karajal expedition. What is this Karajal expedition? So Karajal in the Garhwal Kuman Himalayas, in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. So that is a place where you have the Kuman Garhwal, Karajal, a place called Karajal in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. So some people had invited the wrath of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. They were rebels. So they had rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and they had invited his anger that way. So they had rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and they had sought shelter in the Karajal area, in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know these rebels, who had angered them, are hiding in those mountain fastnesses. So once he came to know that they were hiding in the mountains of Karajal, he decided to teach them a lesson. What do they think? I'm the Sultan, and my hands are not short. I can reach them wherever I want. So he organized an army of 10,000. He organized an army of 10,000 soldiers, right? And he ordered these soldiers to attack and conquer Karajal and teach the rebels a lesson. Now, this is in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. It's pretty. It as you keep climbing higher and higher, it becomes colder and colder. So here, the 10,000 soldiers of Muhammad bin Tughlaq began to climb the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. This is not like climbing any of the hills in South India. It says Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. So these people were climbing the hills, and they were wearing simple clothes like pant and shirt, and they were climbing. The soldiers of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and the rebels from top were watching that the army of Muhammad bin Tughlaq approaching, and climbing the hill. So they ran away. They got scared and they ran away towards Tibet. So when the army, 10,000 soldiers, reached the summit of Karajal, they noticed that there were no rebels there because they had run away towards Tibet. And the news was passed on to the Sultan that the rebels have run away towards Tibet. What to do now? The Sultan ordered the soldiers to pursue them. छोड़ने का नहीं, उसको follow करो. So here the soldiers had to follow the rebels into Tibet. Now, please understand, they did not have the proper gears, the proper dress to fight in this rarefied atmosphere. So, as they began to climb higher and higher, you have also snowfall. You have snowfall set in, right? And then they are wearing ordinary clothes, cotton, linen dress, and they began to suffer from hypothermia. That is, they began to lose body heat quickly, right? And their teeth are chattering. They're finding it very, very cold. But then the Sultan's orders had to be complied. And then, along with this problem of cold, and they're not having the proper gear to fight in this rarefied atmosphere, there was plague in the army, plague caused by rats. So the rats had contaminated the provisions with their feces and urine, and that had gone into the food of the soldiers. And then they were vomiting. People were dying of vomiting and diarrhea, etc. So it was a serious situation, and again because of the cold. Now, out of the 10,000 soldiers who had gone in this Karajal expedition, you know how many came back alive? Just 3 officers returned alive to break the news to the Sultan, to tell the Sultan that this is what happened. Entire 9,997 soldiers and officers died because of the cold and plague caused by rats. And only 3 officers returned alive to break the news to the Sultan. This is the Karajal expedition of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Did you understand? So these are the 5 experiments of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which failed, miserably failed. Right now look here. Um, During the last years of his reign, in the last decade of his reign, in the last decade, that is, last 10 years of his reign, 34 rebellions took place. 34 rebellions took place in the last decade of his reign. And out of these 34 rebellions, 27 rebellions happened in the south itself. 27 of these rebellions happened in South India out of 34 total rebellions in the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And a number of independent kingdoms were established in the south. A number of independent kingdoms were established during the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And among these independent kingdoms, the most important were the following. One is in 1336, Vijayanagara was established. Vijayanagara Vijayanagara kingdom was established by two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, in 1336. Similarly, in 1347, another officer of Muhammad bin Tughlaq by name Hassan Gangu established the Bahmani kingdom. I've already spoken about it some time back. So the Bahmani kingdom was established by Hassan Gangu in 1347 with Gulbarga as capital. Then, of course, we have the Sultanate of Madurai or the Madura Sultanate, the Sultanate of Madurai, the Sultanate of Madurai. So you have a Muslim rule established in Madurai in Tamil Nadu. That's why it's called Sultanate of Madurai, established by Sayyid Hasan Shah of Mabar. Sayyid Hasan Shah of Mabar established the Madurai Sultanate. These are the important kingdoms established during the rule of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now rebellions began to take place. People were very unhappy with the Sultan and his projects. And one after another, rebellions began to take place during the last decades of his rule. And the Sultan took his army and he began to put down those revolts one after another. One rebel called Thagi, so he was a rebel from Gujarat, a person called Thagi. He rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was a rebel from Gujarat. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Thagi. So Thagi ran away towards Sindh. He ran away towards Sindh. And when Muhammad bin Tughlaq was following him, into Sindh, when he was following him into Sindh, at a place called Thatta, the Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq died. Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq died, and that's why we have Barani who says, the king was freed from his people and they from him. The king was freed from his people and they from him. Muhammad bin Tughlaq had no children. Therefore, his cousin, that is his father's brother's son, by name Firuz, was declared as a sultan. So he was succeeded by his cousin, Firuz Shah Tughlaq. So this is about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Are you there with me? This is about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Okay, now let's talk about Muhammad bin Tughlaq on your screen. So, and one more thing I forgot to mention, and this is very important. I need to mention this. Now, look here. I told you that among the people who accused Jonah of patricide, one was Ibn Battuta and the other was Isami. So Jonah Khan is supposed to have, conspired against his father and brother and got them killed. And then he became the Sultan, and Jonah became Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So we have this traveler from Morocco called Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta. So he came to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was from Morocco in Africa, a place called Tangiers, in Morocco. So he was from Tangiers in Morocco. He came to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he was, he was a scholar in Arabic language. This Ibn Battuta, Muhammad bin Tughlaq was very impressed with him, and you know what he did? He appointed Ibn Battuta as the Qazi of Delhi. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq appointed him as the Qazi of Delhi. Qazi is what? Qazi is the Islamic judge. Qazi means Islamic judge. He appointed him as the Qazi of Delhi. So Ibn Battuta was very happy because he has been made the Qazi, a very high position, good salary, luxurious life, all those things. Now he was enjoying all that good life in the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Then after a few years, without any reason, Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered the arrest of Ibn Battuta and got him imprisoned. So Ibn Battuta was languishing in the jail for 10 years, not for 1 year or 1 year or 2 years or 1 month or 2 months. For 10 long years, he was in the jail. And Ibn Battuta was wondering, what did I do that the Sultan ordered my arrest and put me in jail? And for 10 long years, he was in the jail. Then after 10 years, Muhammad bin Tughlaq got him released. He got him released and asked Ibn Battuta, "Do you like to go to China as my ambassador?" The Chinese king had sent an ambassador to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he wanted to return that ambassador. So he got him released from jail and asked Ibn Battuta, "Would you like to go to China as my ambassador?" Ibn Battuta said, "Okay, sir, I will definitely go. I don't want to be in the jail." So Ibn Battuta was ordered to go to China as an ambassador of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, look here. So here, this is India. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Ibn Battuta came all the way to South India. He wanted to go to China by sea, by the sea route. So when he came to South India, Vijayanagara had already been established. The king was Harihara the first. In the present day region of Karnataka, Vijayanagara had already been established by Harihara the first, right? So he was the first foreign traveler to visit Vijayanagara, this Ibn Battuta. So when I do Vijayanagara, I'll talk about it. He visited the court of Harihara the first. And via the sea route, Ibn Battuta went to Sri Lanka. So if this is Sri Lanka, he came to Sri Lanka first. Then from Sri Lanka, he went to Indonesia and Malaysia and then to China. So he went to China as the ambassador of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was there for 5 years, right, in the Chinese court. Then he collected books, etc. And then from China, he directly went to Africa. He never came back to India because you never know Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He might get him arrested again. So he directly went to Africa, and there he writes a book called Rehla, Kitabul Rehla. In that book called Rehla, he uses the choicest abuses against Muhammad bin Tughlaq and criticizes him. Did you understand? So here, that is the reason why Ibn Battuta's opinion of Jauna Khan having committed patricide is not accepted by historians, because he had a personal grudge against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. For no reason, he had been arrested and imprisoned for 10 years. And obviously, he will not praise Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he will only criticize him. And therefore, historians don't take the opinion of Ibn Battuta seriously. Did you understand? Did you understand here? Hello, Ibn Battuta's story. Ankush, Ankush is asking if he had to shift his capital, then why build? Ankush, that's what is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Nobody can understood. Nobody could understand him. So don't try to understand him now after so many years, because people during his time never understood him. That's why he has been criticized as mad king. No reason, definitely no reason. Yeah, obviously no reason. He had been imprisoned for 10 years. He was in the government guest house, that is in the government jail for 10 years. He has a government guest, boarding lodging free for 10 years. Yes, he was a rationalist in many aspects, particularly with respect to religion. I said rationalist in religious matters. Bhimare, right? I told you he was a rationalist in religious matters, but also unpredictable by nature. Unpredictable. You can't understand why this fellow is behaving like that. Unpredictable by nature. That's why he's called by all these epithets: mad king, freak of nature, an intense egoist, okay, etc., etc. Did you get me that? So this is Muhammad bin Tughlaq for you. So let's come back here. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq, original name Jauna Khan. We have two historiographical works which give information about his reign. One is Rehla, written by Ibn Battuta, Kitabul Rehla, and then Tariq-i Firuz-Shahi, written by Ziauddin Barani. So I already told you, maximum territorial extent of the Delhi Sultanate happened during his period. We have the conquest of Kampili in Karnataka, and this was the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. Have you understood the Kampili story, whatever I've told you? Did you understand that? I'll repeat that when I do Vijayanagara. But as of now, have you understood Kampili story? A cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Bahauddin Gurshab, rebelled against him and took shelter in the Kampili court, and that resulted in the conquest of Kampili by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So remember that. Right? Then only Sultan who had received a comprehensive education, had a formal education. He knew many subjects like Persian, Arabic, astronomy, philosophy, mathematics, etc. Then he was a rationalist in religious and philosophical matters. He anticipated Akbar. So I forgot to tell you that he anticipated Akbar by having religious discussions with Hindu and Jain teachers. You see, Akbar, we'll come to Akbar in some time. Akbar was a person who was illiterate. He did not know how to read and write, but he was very inquisitive to know what is there in other religions. So he established a city called Fatehpur Sikri, Akbar. And in this city called Fatehpur Sikri, he built a building called Ibadat Khana. And every Friday, Akbar would sit on a pedestal attached to a pillar. So there was a throne attached to a pillar. So he'll sit on that pillar. He'll sit on that throne attached to that pillar, and then he will listen to discourses. He will listen to religious teachers speak about Islam. So he initially invited, Sunni Muslims, Sunni Muslims to come and speak about Islam, about Shariat, about the Holy Quran. What is there in this religion called Islam, which he is following. So he learned a lot about Islam by hearing these religious gurus of Islam speak about Islam. Once he understood quite a lot about Islam, he invited the people from other religions to come and speak about their religion. Like a Hindu guru was invited, Christian fathers were invited, Zoroastrian guru was invited, Jain guru was invited, etc. So he came to know about all these religions through these gurus. What Akbar did much later was already done by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. That's why the sentence says he anticipated Akbar by holding religious discussions with Hindu and Jain teachers. Hindu teachers like Rajshekhar and Jinaprabha Suri, the Jain scholar Jinaprabha Suri. He also celebrated festivals like Navroz. No, he would celebrate festivals. It's a Hindu festival, Holi, but the Sultan would celebrate that with colors. And Navroz, the Persian New Year. And who introduced Navroz? Who introduced Navroz? Which Sultan introduced Navroz? Yesterday's class. Ankush, not Kalji. No. So you have not revised. You have not revised the class, your lessons. Balban. Balban was the one. Varsha is right. Varsha, you're right. Balban is the answer. Balban was the one who introduced Navroz, the festival of Navroz. Okay, we come back here. Then I told you he was the first Sultan to visit the tomb of Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti at Ajmer, built the mausoleum of Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya at Delhi. This is the tomb of Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya at Delhi. And please understand, Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya had very clearly said, when I die, you bury me in the ground, but don't build a monument over my tomb. I don't want any monument over my tomb. It should be open to the sky. But Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he was Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He wanted a dargah and with a ceiling for Nizamuddin Auliya, and he has constructed this in honor of Nizamuddin Auliya with a ceiling. Though that was not the last wish, that was not the wish of Nizamuddin Auliya. Right. Then he curbed the political influence of the ulemas. He did not allow the ulemas, the Muslim religious teachers, to interfere in politics. Then he expanded beyond the Vindhyas, and he's been called the wisest fool of the Islamic East by Islamic East. He calls him as the wisest fool of the Islamic East, and is called by various titles or epithets: Mad King, a mixture of opposites, intense egoist, a freak of nature, an ill-starred idealist, etc. But please understand, he was a rationalist, most learned, and fond of innovations. But then ill-balanced, unpredictable by nature. And then we have discussed the 5 experiments of his. Transfer of capital on your screen. So he transferred the capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Devagiri was renamed Daulatabad. It was centrally located. South could be better supervised, he felt, and it was safe from repeated Mongol attacks. So he ordered nobles, ulemas, sheikhs, elite of Delhi to shift to Devagiri. No mass exodus took place. I told you, entire population of Delhi was not shifted to South India. Only the certain sections of the society, like the elites, the ulemas, the administrative staff were shifted. But later he changed his mind after 6 years and reshifted the capital back to Delhi. So this is, you can see here, I put a map for your convenience. Delhi is here, and this is Devagiri. This is Devagiri, a distance of 1,000 kilometers. And this is the Devagiri fort, the fort of Devagiri. On the outskirts of Aurangabad city, you have Devagiri. So I visited this place many years back. So one of the difficult forts to conquer of those days, Devagiri, which he renamed Daulatabad. Then increased land revenue in the Doab, that is, he increased the land revenue to 50%, and also increased house tax and grazing tax. And the assessment was not based on actuals, but on standard yield. So here, it was ill-timed because there was a famine going on, and therefore this experiment failed. Token currency, I've already told you, he introduced bronze coins and said that they were going to be the legal tender henceforth. Their value will be equal to that of silver coins. But he could not stop counterfeit currency. the counterfeit coins. That is, in other words, the Gresham's law was in operation, and that's why this experiment of his failed. But anyway, Edward Thomas calls him a prince amongst moneyers. Khorasan campaign, I already told you, he wanted to conquer Khorasan in Iraq on the advice of some ministers and nobles in his court. Then he organized a separate army, almost 4 lakh army he organized, but then later he gave up the idea because the political situation had changed in West Asia, in Khorasan and Iraq. Then, of course, the Karajal expedition in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas, that was also a failure. Only 3 officers returned alive to break the news to the Sultan as to what had happened. Right? He was the first Sultan to attempt to formulate an agrarian policy. He established the agriculture department, as I told you, Diwani Kohi, and appointed a minister called Amiri Kohi. And this department gave loans to farmers, Sondar, Takavi loans to farmers. And Ibn Battuta tells us that he introduced a gold coin called dinar. A gold coin called dinar was established by, or rather introduced by, um, um, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Then we have a number of rebellions which took place during his reign, like the rebellion of his cousin Gurshap. We already discussed about it. We have Kishlin Khan, the governor of Uch, Sindh, and Multan, who revolted. But many kingdoms were established during the last years of his reign. One was Vijayanagara, and the other was Bahamani. These are the 2 most important kingdoms established during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Vijayanagara was established in 1336, and in the vicinity of Vijayanagara, another kingdom called Bahamani kingdom was established in 1347 by Hassan Gangu. So this is about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was succeeded by, so I told you, Thagi, a rebel from Gujarat. He rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and when he chased him, when he attacked Thagi, Thagi ran away into Sindh. And while chasing Thagi, he died on the way at a place called Thatta. And Barani says, so the king was freed from his people and they from him. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq was succeeded by his cousin Firuz Shah Tughlaq. So this is about Muhammad bin Tughlaq's story. Clear? Okay, can we go to Firuz Shah Tughlaq now? Let's talk about Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Firuz Tughlaq, Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Now, he was a cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not have any children, and therefore his cousin succeeded him to the throne. Now, what we notice is Firuz ruled for almost 38 years. He ruled for 38 years. And during this long period of 38 years, we see that there was a lot of peace and prosperity. There were no serious invasions, no serious invasions of the Mongols, epidemics, famines, diseases, outbreak of diseases, and also the first and last time that the members of the previous sultans' families were not harmed. So generally, when a new sultan came to power, he will create problems for the family members of the previous sultan, and they would be imprisoned or they will be blinded or even killed. But then we see that Firoz did not do anything like that. So this was the first and the last time such a thing happened. So we don't see any serious invasions, epidemics, diseases, famines, etc. during this period. Now, Firoz has been called as the Akbar of the Delhi Sultanate. He has been called as the Akbar of the Delhi Sultanate because of his welfare-oriented measures. He was known for his welfare measures. We'll talk about it. Therefore, he's called the Akbar of the Delhi Sultanate. Now, Firoz was not a great conqueror. He was not a great warrior. Twice he attacked Bengal. He wanted to conquer Bengal. 2 times he made attempts to conquer Bengal. Both the times he failed. What the Bengal kings would do is there was a fort called Igdala. There was a fort called Igdala in their territory. So if the Delhi Sultans like Firoz attack them, they will go and shut themselves in this fort called Igdala. It was an impregnable fort. Very difficult to conquer this fort. So they will stock enough ammunition, food, water, etc., which will last for at least 1 year, and then they will fight within the fort, defend the fort. So even after 2 campaigns, twice he tried to conquer Bengal. Both the times he failed. And then while returning back, he was frustrated, because he could not conquer Bengal both the times. So when he was returning back with his army towards Delhi, he changed his mind And suddenly he attacked Orissa, the neighboring kingdom, neighboring state of Orissa. And then he destroyed the Jagannath temple at Puri and plundered and looted that temple, the Jagannath temple at Puri. Then we have the in his Kangra campaign in Kangra in Haryana, in Himachal Pradesh, we have this temple called Jwalamukhi temple. So he attacked this Jwalamukhi temple and he plundered the temple again. Inside this temple, inside the Jwalamukhi temple, there were 1300 Sanskrit manuscripts. 1300 Sanskrit palm leaf manuscripts. No, there were no paper during those days, so they would write on palm leaves. So there were 1300 manuscripts written in Sanskrit language. He ordered that these manuscripts be translated into Persian language under the title Dalail-e-Firuz Shahi. Dalail-e-Firuz Shahi. So please understand, he was the first Sultan to order Sanskrit books to be translated from Sanskrit into Persian language. First Sultan to order Sanskrit books to be translated into Persian language. So these 1300 Sanskrit manuscripts were translated under the title Dalail-e-Firuz Shahi. Firuz is the first king, understand this, he was the first king in the history of India to write his autobiography. Okay, Futuhat-i Firuz, it's called Futuhat-i Firuz Shahi. So first king in the history of India to write his autobiography. So he was the first king in the history of India to write his own autobiography under the title Futuhat-i Firuz Shahi. Now, Firuz was a great builder. He established the Public Works Department, the PWD department. The PWD department was established by him. The Public Works Department was established by him, and he founded a number of cities. He founded the cities of Hisar in Haryana, so Jaunpur in UP. So he founded the city of Hisar, Jaunpur, Fatehabad, then Firuzabad, which is the fifth city of Delhi, and Firuzpur. He also founded Firuzpur. These are the cities founded by him. And Firuzabad is the fifth city of Delhi, founded by Firuz. And he wanted to beautify Firuzabad. He wanted to beautify Firuzabad. There were two Ashokan pillars, at Meerut and Topra. So Meerut in UP and Topra in Haryana. So he got both these pillars brought to Delhi and he installed these pillars there. So these are Ashokan pillars which were originally found at Meerut and Topra. They were transported to Delhi and installed by Firuz Shah Tughlaq because he wanted to beautify his capital, Firuzabad. Now, Firuz had a peculiar hobby. What was the hobby he had? That of collecting slaves. So he collected 1.80 lakh slaves. And he opened a separate department of slaves called Diwan-e-Bandagani. Diwan-e-Bandagani. A separate department of slaves. Diwan-e-Bandagani. And what did he do with so many slaves? He gave them employment. He gave them employment in the royal karkhanas. Royal karkhana means, factories, small scale and cottage industry. So in the royal karkhanas, these slaves were given employment. Like, for example, in carpentry, they were taught carpentry, carpet weaving, embroidery, and so on and so forth. Right. Now, Firuz also is the person who established the welfare department, the Diwan-e-Khairat. Diwan-e-Khairat. This is the welfare department established by Firuz, welfare department. And one of the duties of this department, the Diwan-e-Khairat, was to marry off poor Muslim girls at state expense. So poor Muslim girls whose parents could not afford them to get them married would be married off at state expense. So poor Muslims girls were married off at state expense by this department. He was also the first sultan to give old age pensions. Old age pensions were given to old people, obviously, old age pensions right? So he gave old age pensions to the old people. Then he also opened a hospital, Dar ul Shafa, a charitable, and also a Kanka, that is a house of mystics, a house for the Sufi saints to live. A Kanka was established. So he built a lot of buildings, right? And he also established a public works department. Now, Firuz is the person who excused 20, almost 23 taxes, cesses. 23 taxes were abolished by him, and only four, which was allowed by Islam, were retained by him. What are the four taxes allowed by Islam? Only he implemented those four taxes. One is, of course, Kharaj. Kharaj is what? Land revenue. So he collected land revenue. Okay, and he was a sultan who separated Kharaj from jizya. So jizya was collected as a separate tax by Firoz. If you remember, when I did Arab conquest of Sindh, the Arabs had excused the Brahmins from the payment of jizya, and jizya was collected as part of the land tax. That's why it was called Kharaj e jizya. Now Firoz imposed jizya even on the Brahmins, and he collected jizya as a separate tax. So he introduced Kharaj, land revenue that was collected. Then he collected jizya, tax to be paid by non-Muslims in a Muslim state or a Muslim kingdom. Third is zakat. Zakat is tax paid by Muslims, 2.5% of their property. So in Islam, you see, a lot of importance is given to alms. That is, giving help to the poor and the needy has alms. So every Muslim is supposed to give away 2.5% of his property in alms, according to Islam. That's called zakat. So he collected his karaj, jizya, zakat, and lastly, khams. That is the king share of 20%. These are the only taxes allowed by Islam, and he only imposed those taxes. The only non-Islamic tax which Firuz Shah Tughlaq collected was the irrigation tax called Hakki Shirab. Hakki Shirab. This is the irrigation tax he collected. Irrigation tax amounting to 10%. 10%. That was the irrigation tax he collected. As you remember, during his time, when Firuz Shah Tughlaq was ruling, a lightning struck the Qutub Minar. So Qutub Minar had 4 stories. It had been completed by Iltutmish. So the fourth story was damaged because of this lightning. Firuz ordered the repair of the fourth story and added a fifth tower to it, or a fifth story to it. And the fourth and the fifth story were made of marble, were covered in marble, right? So he was the one who added a fifth story to the Qutub Minar. So I think I have pretty much covered whatever I had to discuss about Firuz Shah Tughlaq. During the last years of his reign, what we notice is he appointed one of his grandsons as Prince Muhammad. Prince Muhammad was his grandson. So he appointed Prince Muhammad as his successor. But the slaves, 1.80 lakh slaves, did not like Prince Muhammad. They chased him away. Within a few weeks, they chased him away. So thereupon, he chose another grandson of his, and he died, Firuz Shah Tughlaq. After his death, you have an intense power struggle. 2, 3 rulers, the successors of Firuz Shah Tughlaq, they were killed. And ultimately, you have Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, he became the ruler. Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. And during the rule of Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, so you have, of course, the Sharki dynasty of Jaunpur, founded by Malik Shark. So during his period, we have this dynasty called Sharki dynasty, which was founded at Jaunpur in UP, by a person called Malik Sarwar. Malik Sarwar founded the Sharki dynasty at Jaunpur. In 1398-99, understand this, 1398-99, we have a person called Taimur Lang, or Taimur the Lame. So he was a person, Langda Admi, lame person. So Taimur the Lame, he was the ruler of Samarkand in Central Asia. So he attacked Delhi in 1398-99. The ruler was Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, and he defeated Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, this Taimur, and he plundered Delhi. 50,000 people were slaughtered on the streets of Delhi, and huge amount of wealth was carried away from Delhi by Taimur. A person called Khizr Khan. Khizr Khan was the Jagirdar of Multan, Khizr Khan. This Khizr Khan, who was the Jagirdar of Multan, supported Timur in this attack. So before going away to Samarkand, Timur appointed Khizr Khan as his representative and made Khizr Khan the governor of. He made him the governor of Multan, Lahore, and Dipalpur. So Khizr Khan was made the governor of Multan, Lahore, and Dipalpur. Once Timur went away, this Khizr Khan proclaimed, he founded a new dynasty known as the Said dynasty. He established the Said dynasty. This was the end of the Tughlaqs. This is about Tughlaqs. Did you understand? Hello? Can we discuss Firuz Shah Tughlaq and the Tughlaqs? Right? So let us discuss Firuz Shah Tughlaq on your screen. Firuz. So 1351 to 1388, cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, ruled for 38 years. We have cheap prices, high wages, security to one and all, an absence of famines, epidemics, serious foreign invasions, rebellions, serious internal tensions, bloodshed, etc. during this period. We have also absence of danger to the members of the royal family from the ruling sultan. First and the last time in medieval Indian history that happened. So, and one more thing, I forgot to mention one thing, which is very important from the point of view of the exam. Now, Firoz is the person who made Ikta's hereditary. Who introduced the Ikta system? Who introduced the Ikta system? All of you, I'm sure, know this answer. Just to keep your kindle your memory and keep it fresh. Iltutmish. Very good, Sudhanshu. Iltutmish is the one. Now, understand this. Ketan, how can it be Kutubuddin? It is Iltutmish. Please revise your lessons, Ketan. So, you see, Firuz Tughlaq made Ikta's hereditary. He made Ikta's hereditary. Now, if an Iqtadar died, understand this, if an Iqtadar, the holder of an Iqtadar died, then his Iqta will go to his son. If he doesn't have a son, then it will go to his son-in-law. If he doesn't have a son-in-law, it will go to his slave. So he made Iqta's hereditary. Now, this had an adverse effect on the administration. Imagine that there's a person called A. He is a very efficient Iqtadar. He's a holder of an Iqta. And he died. But his son is a useless fellow. Or his son-in-law is a useless fellow. So he becomes the Iqtadar automatically, the Iqtadar's son or son-in-law. And he might not have any administrative experience or capacity to give a sound administration to that Iqta. So it had an adverse effect on the administration in those Iqtas. He made Iqtas a hereditary. Similarly, Firuz Shah Tughlaq used the same principle, hereditary principle in the army. Understand this. Even in the army, he introduced the same hereditary principle. Let's say there's a commander, okay? There's a commander, army commander, a very experienced man who has fought many years and brought victories to the Sultan. And let us say this commander dies. The next commander would be his son. His son would take his place. And his son may be a carpenter or a painter. Automatically, he becomes the commander. Or if he doesn't have a son, his son-in-law or his slave. So this is a very peculiar practice introduced by Firuz Shah Tughlaq. It also adversely affected the fighting capacity of the army, the efficiency of the army. Did you understand? So that part I forgot to mention. We'll come back here. So his policy was aimed to please the nobles, army, theologians, people alienated by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Tried to conquer Bengal twice, but he failed both the times. Then he attacked Jajnagar, Orissa, defeated the contemporary king Bhanudeva III, destroyed the Jagannath temple at Puri. He also destroyed the Jwalamukhi temple in the Nagarkot campaign. That is Kangra. Nagarkot is in Kangra in Himachal Pradesh. 1,300 manuscripts were translated into from Sanskrit into Persian under the title Dalaili Firuz Shahi. So he was the first sultan to get Hindu religious works translated to Persian. He also reformed the penal system. You see, during the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, tortures were used by the officials to elicit confessions. So if they're not able to find out who is the person who's done an illegal thing, tortures were given. People, their limbs were cut off, fingers were cut off, or eyes were disgorged, ears were cut off, etc. So that that person accepts that he has made a mistake. And many people, innocent people, just to save their limbs, might take the blame on themselves. So therefore, he reformed the penal system, and also abolished all these tortures, which were quite common under Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He also made Iqtas hereditary. He introduced the same hereditary principle in the army. So he refused to exempt the Brahmins from the payment of jizya. I will discuss all these things. First Sultan to collect jizya separate from the kharaj or land revenue, established the Department of Slaves, Diwani Bandagani, collected 1.80 lakh slaves, established 36 karkhanas or royal workshops, established the Public Works Department, founded a number of cities like Hisar, Jaunpur, Fatehabad, Firozabad. Then he built 5 canals. They are all found in the present region of Haryana. In present Haryana state, we find all these canals. Most of them are built by Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Yamuna to Hisar. This was the longest. Yamuna to Hisar, Yamuna to Firozabad, Ghagra to Firozabad, Satluj to Ghagra. And then you have a 5th canal, which he built. So totally 5 canals he built for irrigation purpose. Then 2 Ashokan pillars from Topra and Meerut were brought to Delhi and re-erected there. He abolished all the non-Islamic taxes, almost numbering 24, and he only retained 4, that is Kharaj, land revenue or land tax, Zakat, then Jizya and Khams. The only non-Islamic tax was Hakki Sharab, that is irrigation tax, amounting to 10% for irrigation works. Then drip irrigation, very interestingly, drip irrigation in India was introduced by him. He has promoted horticulture and established 1,200 grape gardens around Delhi, established the welfare department, Diwani Khairat, built a charitable hospital, Darul Shafa, and also a house for mystics, Kankha, introduced 2 new coins, Adha, that is 50% Jital, and Bik, 25% Jital. Right? He was the first to write his autobiography, Futuhati Firuz Shahi, first Indian ruler to write his own autobiography. And he patronized the scholars Ziauddin Barani, who wrote Fatwa-i Jahandari. So please understand this part. Ziauddin Barani also worked under Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He also was patronized by Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Ziauddin Barani wrote 2 books. One is Fatwa-i Jahandari. The other is Tariq-i Firuz Shahi. Tariq-i Firuz Shahi, also written by Ziauddin Barani. And then we have another scholar, Shamshi Shiraj Afif, who writes another book called Tariq-i Firuz Shahi. So we have 2 separate books written by 2 separate people under the same title. Tariq-i Firuz Shahi, written by Shamshi Shiraj Afif, and Tariq-i Firuz Shahi, written by Ziauddin Barani. And incidentally, Shamshi Shiraj Afif was the official historian of Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Shamshi Shiraj Afif was his official historian. He was his official historian. Right? Then poor Muslim girls were married off at state expense. Even old age pensions were given. Then first Sultan to receive Mansoor twice. So he was the first. He was the first Sultan to receive Mansoor twice, and also the last Sultan in the history of India to receive Mansoor. Only 3 people received Mansoor. I told you. Iltutmish was one. Then the second was Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The third and the last was Firuz Shah Tughlaq. So last Muslim ruler to receive a Mansoor. Then after Firuz Shah Tughlaq, there was intense power struggle, and finally Nasruddin Mahmud ascended the throne. So Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq, he was the last of the Tughlaq dynasty, during whose period Malik Sarwar founded the kingdom of Jaunpur, the Sharki dynasty of Jaunpur, and Taimur plundered Delhi, 1398-99. The king was Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. So he was the ruler of Samarkand, Taimur. This is Taimur the Lame, or Taimur Lung as he was called. Then Khizr Khan supported Taimur. He was the Jagirdar of Multan. And before going away, Khizr Khan was appointed as the governor of Multan, Lahore, and Dipalpur. And he acted as Taimur's viceroy at Delhi. And Khizr Khan founded the 4th dynasty, namely the Sayyid dynasty. This is about the Tughlaqs. Then we come to the Sayyids. Any doubts? Are you clear till here? Can you raise your hands? Okay, can we go for a break now? Because I'll not be able to finish sides in 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes, right? We can go for a break. It is we'll meet at 7:05 p.m. We'll finish Delhi Sultanate and we'll go to Mughal Empire. Okay. Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, Ankush, Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji called himself as Caliph, the son of Alauddin Khalji. Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji called himself as the Khalifa. Okay, so let there be continuity. I can start with Sayyids, very small, very less period of period they rule, very less number of years they ruled. Then we have the Lodhis also, so not very important, but then we'll discuss about them, important aspects of their rule. Finish with this chapter and go to Mughal Empire. So, chalo, we'll go for a break. Come back in at 7:05. Good evening once again. Can we continue that class? Anushka, good evening. Am I audible and visible? Can we move on? Right. So here we have discussed the Tughlaq dynasty. Um, Timur the Lame, in 1398-99, he attacked Delhi. The king was Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. Timur was supported by Khizr Khan, the Jagirdar of Multan. And once Timur went away, this Khizr Khan, who had been appointed as the governor of Multan, Lahore, and Dipalpur, founded the Said dynasty. So this is the fourth dynasty to rule the Delhi Sultanate. So let us discuss the Said dynasty. Nothing much to talk about them. They ruled for a brief period of time. But anyway, let us talk about them. So you have four rulers: Sayyid Khizr Khan, Mubarak Shah, Muhammad Shah, and Alauddin Alam Shah. Now, what we notice is we have a transition from centralization to provincialism. So provinces became more important, in other words, than the central government. So transition from centralized monarchy to provincialism or regionalism in administration. So Said dynasty, Saids ruled from 1414 to 1451. So founder was Sayyid Khizr Khan, only Sultan. Understand this? Only Sultan who was not a sovereign ruler. So he ruled as the representative of Timur. He never called himself as an independent ruler. So he was not a sovereign ruler in that sense because he ruled as the vassal of Timur or the representative or Samanta of Timur, and he was the second Sultan who did not assume the title of Sultan. Second ruler who did not assume the title of Sultan after Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak never took the title of Sultan. He was the second man, second king who never took the title of Sultan. So second ruler who did not assume the title of Sultan after Qutbuddin Aibak. And only Sultan who was not a sovereign ruler. Uh, that is, sovereignty is what you're both sovereign internally and externally. You're not accountable to anybody. So here he never was a sovereign ruler because he ruled as the vassal of Timur, and he granted independent powers to the Iqtadars. So therefore, we have transition from centralization to provincialism or regionalism. So the provinces became more stronger, more powerful during his period. Then we have his son Mubarak Shah, who took the title of Sultan. He patronized a scholar called Yahya bin Ahmad Sarhindi or Yahya bin Ahmad Sarindha, who wrote Tariki Mubarak Shahi. So a book called Tariki Mubarak Shah in praise of Mubarak Shah. So Yahya bin Ahmad Sarinda was patronized by him, and he founded the city of Mubarakabad on the banks of the Yamuna. But then you have disgruntled nobles who beheaded him. So Mubarak Shah was beheaded by disaffected nobles or disgruntled nobles. So he was the second ruler. Then we have Muhammad Shah. Muhammad Shah, he was attacked by the ruler of Malwa, Mahmud Khalji of Malwa. And he could not, Malwa, very near to Madhya Pradesh. So he was not able to tackle this Mahmud Khalji of Malwa alone. So he requisitioned the help of Bahalul Lodi, the governor of Multan. So Bahalul Lodi was the governor of Multan. So he asked his help. He was a vassal under him, this Bahalul Lodi. So Bahalul Lodi helped this Muhammad Shah in repelling the attack of Mahmud Khalji of Malwa. Thereupon, this Muhammad Shah gave the title of Khan-i-Khanan, that is Great Khan, to Bahalul Lodi. Khan-i-Khanan means Great Khan. Did you get me that, all of you? Right? So, Muhammad Shah sought the help of Bahalul Lodi, the governor of Multan, and with his help, he was able to repel the attack of Mahmud Khalji of Malwa. And Bahalul Lodi was given the title of Great Khan or Khan-i-Khanan by Bahalul Lodi. Then we have Alauddin, who took the title of Shah Alam. Alauddin, who took the title of Shah Alam. And by this time, the Delhi Sultanate had shrunk. The territory of the Delhi Sultanate had shrunk to a very, very small area. And the contemporary poets used to make fun of this Sultan, Alauddin. So, in the following words, in Persian language, Sultanate Shah Alam as Dilli ta Palam. I repeat, Sultanate Shah Alam as Dilli ta Palam. That is, the Delhi Sultan was called the Lord of the Universe. Please understand. Now, contemporary poets or scholars used to call the Delhi Sultan as the Lord of the Universe. Lord of the Universe. So what did the contemporary poets make fun of Alauddin has? They should say the Lord of the Universe rules over such a large territory from Delhi to Palam. So Palam is where the Delhi airport is, isn't it? So the Lord of the Universe rules from Delhi to Palam, and they used to laugh, speaking like this. Did you understand the joke here? Sir, unable to download annotated PPT from dashboard. I don't know how to. Maybe you have to refresh, Divya. Please refresh your page. Did you understand the joke here? So, Allah, contemporary poets used to make fun of him because he ruled over a very small area from Delhi to Palam, and he was not interested in ruling. Alauddin Shah Alam, he wanted to go to his personal estate at Budaun in UP and enjoy estate life. So, he gave away the throne to Bahlul Lodi, and Bahlul Lodi allowed him to enjoy his personal estate at Budaun. That resulted in the end of the Said dynasty and the coming of the Lodhis to power. Did you understand? So, Bahlul Lodi deposed him and founded the Lodi dynasty. This was the end of the Saids. Did you understand that? So this is about the Saids. Then we come back here, Lodhis. Any doubts regarding the Saids? Are you clear? Thank you, Sudhanshu. I believe it has been down. No, it has been uploaded. The Sudhanshu is saying that it is there on Baiju'sExamPrep.com. Thank you, Sudhanshu. Nothing much of significance, Ankush, about the Sayyids. They ruled for a brief period of time. They were Turkish. They also belong to the Turkish race, and they used to they trace their descent. The Sayyids trace their descent from the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, Fatima. So Fatima was the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, and they trace their descent from Fatima. And they used to use the Sayyids used to wear a pointed cap called pointed cap over their head. They used to wear a pointed cap, something like this, a pointed cap, right? Imagine this is the pointed cap, right? And this was called Kula Daran. Kula Daran. Daran is one who's wearing. Kula is a pointed cap. So the Sayyids used to be called as Kula Daran because they used to use a pointed cap, and they were given a lot of respect even by Timur. Timur also did not harm the Sayyids because they trace descent from Fatima, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad. So this is about the Sayyids. Right, now we come back here. Lodi dynasty. Are you clear, all of you? Can I move on next to the next dynasty? We come to the Lodhis. Now, the Lodhis were Afghans Beres. Out of the 5 dynasties, only the Lodhis were Afghans Beres. We have only 3 rulers here: Bahlol Lodi, Sikandar, and Ibrahim. Okay, they ruled from 1451 to 1526. This is the first Afghan dynasty. This is the first Afghan dynasty to rule Delhi. The second Afghan dynasty was that of Sher Shah Sur. That was the second Afghan dynasty. This is the first Afghan dynasty to rule Delhi, the Lodhis. So let us talk about it. Bahlol Lodi. So first Afghan ruler of Delhi, and during his period, Jaunpur became independent. He conquered Jaunpur, thus ending the Sharki dynasty. Sharki dynasty, if you remember, had been founded by Malik Sarwar Sharki during the reign of Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, the last of the Tughlaqs. Now, during the time of Bahlol Lodi, it became independent because he ended the Sharki dynasty of Jaunpur by conquering Jaunpur. And Bahlol Lodi introduced a coin called Bahloli, a copper coin called Bahloli. The factual information: he was the first Afghan ruler of Delhi. Then we have his son Sikandar Lodi. He was born to a Hindu mother, and Sikandar Lodi is the person who entered into a non-aggression pact with Bengal king. So he conquered Bihar, entered into a non-aggression pact with the ruler of Bengal, Alauddin Hussein Shah. Right, and Sikandar Lodi founded the city of Agra in the year 1504. This was to control the refractory Rajput rulers, that is the rebellious Rajput king. So he felt that if he founds a city, then he can, that is called Agra, near to the area where the Rajputs ruled, he can control the Rajput rebellious leaders better. So he founded the city of Agra to keep control over the Rajput rulers. And he made Agra his capital, Sikandar Lodi. Then he was a person who founded a measuring yard called Ghazi Sikandari. So that was the yard, a yard or a stick through which lands were measured. So introduce a new measurement yard, that is stick to measure lands. Stick to measure land called Ghazi Sikandari. And he was a Persian poet of repute. He wrote under the pen name Gul Rukhi, that is what is called Nom de Plume. So that was his pen name. He used to write under the pen name Gul Rukhi. Now, Sikandar Lodi also tried to control the prices of markets. If you remember Alauddin Khalji's topic yesterday, he used force. Alauddin used force, a threat, to see that the prices in the market don't fluctuate and they remain steady throughout the year. Here, Sikandar Lodi also tried to see that the prices in the markets remain steady throughout the year, but through persuasion, not through force. Therefore, it is called market control through persuasion. He persuaded the traders and the merchants not to inflate, not to artificially inflate the prices of goods. That's called market control through persuasion. So though he was narrow-minded, he allowed the translation of a Sanskrit book on medicine into Persian language under the title Farangi Sikandari. So he was narrow-minded and fanatic by nature, fanatic about Islam, but then he allowed the translation of a medical book in Sanskrit into Persian under the title Farangi Sikandari. Right? Then we have the last ruler, Ibrahim Lodi. Ibrahim Lodi was not liked by the Afghan chiefs. He was considered to be very intolerant, and therefore they did not like him, and that resulted in a lot of disaffection against him. We have the Battle of Khatoli, which took place between Ibrahim Lodi and the most powerful ruler of North India during those days, Rana Sangram Singh, or Rana Sangha of Mewar. So he was a king of Mewar, Rana Sangram Singh. So this Ibrahim Lodi was defeated by Rana Sangha of Mewar in the Battle of Khatoli. So some Afghan nobles who did not like Ibrahim Lodi invited a certain Babar to attack Delhi. So who are these three people who who invited Babar to attack Delhi? Babar was ruling over Kabul in Afghanistan. I'll come to that in some time when I start Mughal Empire in some time. We will talk about Babar. So Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, Alam Khan Lodi, the uncle of Ibrahim Lodi, and Rana Sangha of Mewar, Rana Sangram Singh. These three people separately invited Babar to attack Delhi. In other words, two others did not know that the third had already invited Babar, right? So the three of them sent separately ambassadors to Kabul to invite Babar to attack Delhi. Why did they invite Babar to attack Delhi? I'll tell you later when I do Mughal Empire. So Daulat Khan Lodi, governor of Punjab, Alam Khan Lodi, the uncle of Ibrahim, and Rana Sangha of Mewar separately invited Babar to attack India. And Babar had already conquered a few forts on the borders of India. He had raided on the borders of India 4 times. These are called the exploratory raids of Babar. And he was planning to attack for the 5th time. And when he was planning to attack for the 5th time, these three people, Daulat Khan Lodi, Alam Khan Lodi, and Rana Sangha of Mewar, invited Babar, and Babar came. And then happened the first battle of Panipat, April the 21st, 1526. So April the 21st, 1526. Babar was warned by the soothsayers. He had court astrologers, people who will tell the future. The soothsayers. They warned Babar. They told the stars foretell your doom. You may get killed. So therefore, don't go to battle. And probably they were right because Babar's army numbered 12,000. That was the strength of Babar's army, 12,000 cavalry, but they were battle-hardened soldiers. But then the army of Ibrahim numbered 1 lakh. Ibrahim Lodi's army numbered 1 lakh. So when you come to know the strength of each other's armed forces, you'll come to know, you'll presume that Babar should have lost or should have got killed in this battle. But then something else happened in this battle. It was Babar who won the day. It was Babar who won this battle, the first battle of Panipat. Ibrahim Lodi lay dead on the battlefield. That was the only credit to him. That is, he was the only Delhi Sultan to die on the battlefield. Only Delhi Sultan to die on the battlefield is Ibrahim Lodi, the last Lodi king of Delhi, and Babur established the Mughal Empire. How this battle took place, etc., I'll discuss it when I do Mughal Empire. Okay, so this was the end of the Delhi Sultanate, and Babur established the Mughal Empire in 1526 after killing Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. Sakshi, this is what is there according to history books. Rana Sanga was one of the rulers to have invited Babur. Why he invited, I'll tell you later. Why these three people invited Babur, we'll discuss about that later. Market persuasion is the market control to persuasion is by talking to the traders and merchants to say that they don't artificially inflate the prices of goods and create trouble in the market, create trouble for the people. So that is called market control through persuasion. He persuaded the traders and merchants to keep the prices as low as possible and not to artificially inflate it so that they can make more profits. Bhimare, did you get me that? That is what it is. Very simple. Jaswant, I'll come to that. Just hold on. Right? We'll come to that. But why Baba's empire is not called Sultanate? We'll come to that. Because they never took the title of Sultan. They never called themselves as Sultans. Right? Okay, we'll come back here. This is the first battle of Panipat on your screen, April the 21st, 1526. The battle plan of Babur. I'll tell you discuss the battle plan of Babur. What all he did to win this battle. We'll talk about it. Just hold on. So this is Babur's army to the north. You can see this is Babur's army, and this is the army of Ibrahim Lodi. Okay, so let us discuss other aspects of the Delhi Sultanate. We have discussed this in detail. Empire was divided into provinces called Iktas, right? Ikta system was introduced by Iltutmish. Remember? So the holder of an Ikta was called Iktadar, Naim, or Wali. What was the duty of the Iktadar? His duty was to maintain law and order in the area, in the Ikta, to collect land revenue and act as a judge. And out of the gross revenue collected, he will deduct his salary, also the expenses required for running the affairs of the Ikta, and the balance will be sent away to the Sultan at the capital. That is called Fawazil. The balance was sent away to the Sultan at the capital. So, and when the king went to war, the Iqtadar will also assist the king. The Iqtadar did not have any personal lands. Then he was transferable from one Iqta to another Iqta. And his position totally depended upon the Sultan. Therefore, it is different from the Samanta system or the feudal system. Iqta system is not the same as the feudal system, right? Because Iqtadar was transferable. In the feudal system, they were not transferable. Feudal lords had their own personal lands, whereas the Iqtadar did not have his own personal lands. And his position, the Iqtadar's position, depended totally upon the privilege of the king. The king could make or unmake an Iqtadar, in other words. Then below the Iqta came the district or the Shik, headed by a Shikdar, right? By a Shikdar. So he performed pretty much the same duties at the district level as performed by the Iqtadar at the provincial level. Then Parganas were a group of villages under a Faujdar, and village were under village headmen called Quds and Mukaddams. I told you, excess amount collected by the Iqtadars was sent to the capital that was called Fawazil. No, Bhimare, segmentary state, I've already told you, segmentary state where the chiefs were virtually independent. The king had only symbolic control or ritualistic control over the chiefs, not real control, right? So king only ruled over the nucleus area, whereas in the peripheral areas, the chiefs were virtually independent, and they were divided into a number of zones, right? That is segmentary state. Iqtadar, he was dependent upon the king. A king could make or unmake an Iqtadar, and he was transferable. So therefore it's not the same. Right. Then Sultan was the head of the state. We have discussed this. Sultan was the head of the state. There was no definite law of succession. It was mostly the sword which decided the issue. Sword was the one which decided the issue. Then we have bureaucracy and a number of departments. Look here on your screen. Naib as Sultan, Deputy Sultan. So he was a Deputy Sultan. For example, we have Balban, who was appointed as Deputy Sultan, isn't it, by Nasruddin Mahmud. And later Balban killed Nasruddin Mahmud, his son-in-law, and became Sultan. Malik Kafur was Naib Sultan, was also appointed as Naib Sultan. So here, that is Naib Sultan, Deputy Sultan. Then Wazir. Wazir was the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. Headed the department called Diwani Wazarat, Finance Department. Diwani Wazarat is the Finance Department, whose head was the Wazir, who was also the Prime Minister. Arisi Mamalik was the military department, was the commander-in-chief who headed the military department called Diwani Aris. Who established the military department? Yeah, Iqtadars. No, Iqtadars were transferable. Yeah, Hari, Iqtadars were not hereditary. They were not hereditary. Hari, okay. Who introduced military department? Bhimare, you are not revising your lessons. Yeah, Ankush, you're right. Balban is the answer. Balban is the answer. So when I say something like this, don't take it personally. It is only to show you a mirror, right? If I criticize you, it's only for your good. I'm only making you aware that revision is part of your preparation. Please revise because there's so much of information you need to remember and retain for the examination. Please revise every day. Revision should be part of your preparation. So military department was established by Balban, the Diwani Aris. Then Amiri Munshi or Dabir. Amir Munshi or Dabir, he was in charge of the Royal Correspondence Department, Diwani Insha, Department of Royal Correspondence. Then Sadar us Sadar, that is the religious department, religious and endowment department, headed by that is called Diwani Risalat. Then Qazi ul Kusat was the head of the law department, Qazi. Baridi Mamalik, head of the intelligence department, Diwani Barid. Who introduced the intelligence department? Who introduced the intelligence department, Barid department? Very good, Ankush. Alauddin Khalji. Puja is also right. Very good. Alauddin Khalji. Then Akur Beg, head of the cavalry, Daroga Ipil, superintendent of royal elephants. So please read your textbook. You make my PPT the base and read one textbook. Satish Chandra, we recommend Satish Chandra, or you can read even Poonam Dalal Dahiya. But Satish Chandra is the better book to go to, right? If you have a lot of time, please go read Satish Chandra for medieval India and R.S. Sharma for ancient India. Then supplementary information, Barid's were spies and intelligence officers, Vakil Idar, in charge of royal household and karkhanas. Royal household is the royal palace, karkhanas are workshops, karkhana. Then Amir Hajib or Amir Barbak, master of ceremonies and protocol. So he was also the protocol officer. What is protocol? That is master of ceremonies and protocol. He will arrange the officers before the throne in a sequential order, depending upon their seniority. The senior officers will be nearer to the Sultan, sitting nearer to the Sultan, and the juniors will be far away. So, and also the protocol, there's a certain rules we followed. Unless you're spoken to, you should not speak. Unless you're asked to be spoken to, and when you're asked to be spoken to, speak softly. Don't show your back to the emperor. Carry gifts to the emperor. All those things. And Amiri Majlis, in charge of royal parties. Jandas, bodyguards. Then we have a number of changes brought about by the Turks. They introduced the silver tanka and the copper jital. Then new crafts introduced by the Turks were paper manufacturing. Paper, you see, was introduced by the Chinese. It was invented by the Chinese. Paper. In the 13th century, the Turks introduced paper into India. Before paper, palm leaf was used to write upon in India. So the Turks introduced paper and also spinning wheel, the charkha as it is called. Cambay was an important port in Gujarat, Khambayat. They also introduced the gear mechanism to draw water from a deeper level for irrigation. The Persian wheel or sakya had a gear, so it could increase the radius of its revolution, the size, so you can go deeper to bring water from a deeper level for irrigation purpose. That's called gear mechanism. Alauddin Khilji established an efficient postal system. You see, it was Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Please write down this. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq introduced horse couriers. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq is the one who introduced horse couriers. Introduced horse couriers. So that is carrying the message on horses. But then you also had runners. Runners used to be there. They were all professional runners, so they will run in a relay system. So one runner will, let us say, run for about 500 meters or 1,000 meters. Then he will drop off the message to another runner, and the other runner will take off. And then he will also run to the next post, and he'll hand over the letter or the courier to the next runner. So they were professional runners. And between the horse and the runner, if I might ask you a question, who ran faster? Or rather, who passed on the message faster? Was it the horse or the runner? Sudhanshu says, Ankush, Sakshi, everybody says horse. If it was the horse, why would I ask you that question? I also know a horse runs faster than a human being, right? It was a runner. It was a runner because the runner will take shortcuts. The runner can take shortcuts, which the horse cannot. The horse has to follow a particular track. You understand? The runner could take the shortcuts. So between the horse and the runner was able to, pass on the message faster, right? Um, yeah, Department of Royal Correspondences, Varsha, they will correspond with if the king gave certain orders, that order is passed on to the provinces and the districts by the Department of Royal Correspondence. They will correspond with the district head, the provincial head, and pass on the message. What is the emperor's orders? That is the Department of Royal Correspondence. Did you understand? Okay. Then Amir Khusro have given a small note. He was given the title of Tute Hind, Parrot of India. By whom? Who gave him the title of Parrot of India? Amir Khusro was called Parrot of India by whom? By whom? Quickly. Alauddin. Very good. Alauddin Khalji. Varsha is right. Alauddin Khalji is the answer. The Parrot of India. He was more of a poet than a historian. He saw the rule of 7 Delhi Sultans, disciple of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia, and is considered to be the first poet of Hindavi language, which is a mixture of Hindi and Urdu. And these are the various works of Amir Khusro on your screen. Khazain al-Futu talks about the military campaigns of Alauddin Khalji, including his southern campaigns, and the description of Johar in Persian is given for the first time in this book. Khazain al-Futu. Then Nusifir, the reign of Mubarak Khalji, the son of Alauddin Khalji. Mubarak Khalji was the one who called himself as Caliph, isn't it? Only Sultan to call himself as Caliph is this, Mubarak Khalji. So he talks about the reign of Mubarak Khalji and praises India as the paradise on earth. Ashika or Deval Rani Khizar Khani, that is the romance of Devala Devi and Khizar Khan. Devala Devi, daughter of Kamala Devi. So, my romance of Devala Devi and Khizar Khan. So that is Ashika, Deval Rani Khizar Khani, Kiran Usfutu, Miftal Futu. These are the books written by Amir Khusro. Right. And this is supposed to be the residence of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. It lays northeast of Humayun's tomb along the rubble boundary at Delhi. Right. So let us look at the questions. All of you, I seek your attention. Try to answer the question without looking at the answers. After consolidating his power, Balban assumed the grand title of what? 1997. Tute Hind, Kaisar Hind, Zilli Ilahi, Dinni Ilahi. Answer is Zilli Ilahi. Shadow of God, isn't it? Shadow of God. He called himself as Shadow of God, Zilli Ilahi. Then consider the following 1998 question. Tughlaqabad Fort, Lodi Garden, Qutub Minar, Fatehpur Sikri. The correct chronological order in which they were built is what? So Tughlaqabad Fort was built by whom? Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, founder of the Tughlaq dynasty. He founded Tughlaqabad. Then Lodi Gardens were laid by the Lodis. Qutub Minar was built by Iltutmish. You all know this. And Fatehpur Sikri was a city founded by Akbar. So what is the correct chronological sequence? So first comes what? First comes the Qutub Minar, isn't it? First comes Qutub Minar. Then comes the Tughlaqabad Fort. Then the Lodi Gardens, right? The Lodi Gardens. And lastly, Fatehpur Sikri. So answer is 3124. Ankush says this can be answered blindly. No, don't try to do that, Ankush. Don't try to answer blindly. Please keep your eyes open. That's where your students make mistake. They can make mistakes there. Fawazil in the Sultanate period means what? 1998 question. Fawazil, extra payment made to the nobles? No. Revenue assigned in lieu of salary? No. Illegal exactions extracted from the peasants? No. Answer is this: excess amount paid to the exchequer by the Iqtadars. We have seen this. Easy question. Then, 2004 question: who was the last ruler of the Tughlaq dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate? So, Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq. Isn't it? Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq, during whose period Timur plundered Delhi? Not Firuz Shah Tughlaq, Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, Nusrat Shah. 2006 question. Assertion A. Muhammad bin Tughlaq issued a new coin which was called dinar by Ibn Battuta. That is right. Reason: Muhammad bin Tughlaq wanted to issue token currency in gold coins to promote trade with West Asian and North African countries. Obviously, this is not correct. It was in bronze coins. Therefore, the answer is A is true, R is false. C is the answer. Not in gold coins, but bronze coins. Then match the following by using the codes historian and the work. Minaj Siraj. Minaj Siraj, Tabaqat Nasiri. So I'll rub off this weight. So the Minaj Siraj, Tabaqat Nasiri. Hasan Nizami, Tajul Masir. Isami, Futu Salatin. And then Ziauddin Barani, Tariki Firuz Shahi. Then department and creator. Diwani Barid, spy department. Who established a spy department? Alauddin Khalji. Isn't it? Barid is spy department. Alauddin Khalji. Then Diwani Kohi, agriculture department. Who established the agriculture department? We just now discussed. It was Muhammad bin Tughlaq, isn't it? Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Diwani Kohi. Then Diwani Khairat, welfare department. It is Firuz Shah Tughlaq. And then Diwani Aris, military department, established by Balban. So remember these terminologies, please. Diwan Barid is spy department. Kohi is agriculture department. Khairat is welfare department. Aris is military department. So please remember these terminologies. Okay, revise adequately, frequently. Then, which of the following is also known as Minar-e-Shamshi? That is Qutub Minar. It was built by Iltutmish. He is called Shamshuddin Iltutmish. So therefore, Minar-e-Shamshi. That was the full name of Iltutmish. Shamshuddin Iltutmish. So Minar-e-Shamshi. Shamshi is from Shamshu. Right? Iltutmish. Then, match the following. City and founder. Jahanpana, founded by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Deenpana by Humayun. Siri by Alauddin Khalji. And Meheroli by Kutubuddin Aibak. That's the answer, right? Then 2021 question. Look at this UPSC question. Consider the following statements. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that Genghis Khan reached the Indus in pursuit of the fugitive Khwarezmi prince. Right? That is correct, isn't it? Jalaluddin Mangbarani. So that is right. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that Genghis Khan reached the Indus in pursuit of the fugitive Khwarezmi prince. It was during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq that Timur occupied Multan and crossed the Indus. No. Timur attacked India, Delhi during the reign of Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq, not Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Therefore, the second statement is wrong. It was during the reign of Devaraya II of Vijayanagara that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala. This is again wrong. When we do Vijayanagara, we will be answering this. It was during the time of Narsimha II, not Devaraya II, but Narsimha II. Narasimha II. So if I had done Vijayanagara, and you had attended the class, you would have been able to answer the third statement. Okay, I can promise you that. So therefore, don't worry. When we do Vijayanagara, you would have answered that. Which of the following statements are correct? Only first statement is correct. Only one is correct. The rest two are wrong. 2022 question. Then, Ankush, on whom it is named. It was named by Aibak in honor of that saint, Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. Okay. With reference to Indian history, consider the following statements. The first Mongol invasion of India happened during the reign of Jalaluddin Khalji. Answer this question, please. It happened during the reign of. Yeah. It happened during the reign of first Mongol invasion, Iltutmish. Right. During the reign of Alauddin Khalji, one Mongol assault marched up to Delhi and besieged the city. That is right. So that's where Zafar Khan died. The Mongols came up to Delhi, outskirts of Delhi, and Zafar Khan fought bravely, and he was able to, repel the attack of the Mongols. But in the process, he laid down his life. Muhammad bin Tughlaq temporarily lost portions of northwest of his kingdom to Mongols. That is not correct. You see, during the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we have a Mongol warrior called Tarmashrin. Tarma Shirin. So he looted everything from Lahore to Delhi. And what Muhammad bin Tughlaq did is he gave him money. He bribed him. Muhammad bin Tughlaq bribed him and sent him away. But after that, he took all the measures necessary to contain the attacks of the Mongols. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq never lost any territory in the northwest of his kingdom to the Mongols. That statement is wrong. So which of the statements are correct? Only the second statement is correct. Clear? Only the second statement is correct. Can I move on? Then 2022 question. With reference to Indian history, who of the following were known as Kula Daran? So Arab merchants know, Qalandars know, Persian calligraphists, Sayyids. So they used to wear a pointed cap, okay, called Kula. And that's where the name Kula Daran comes from. So Sayyids claim descent from Prophet through his daughter Fatima. So Sayyids used to wear a pointed cap like this. So they used to wear a pointed cap like this. So imagine this is the pointed cap. And this was called Kula Daran. Kula Daran. So this is the end of the Delhi Sultanate. Ankush, Mongols, they hotly pursued this Jalaluddin Mangbarani, but Mangbarani, when he was refused asylum, ran away towards Persia or Iran. And the Mongols, I told you this, they came up to Punjab. They engaged in a lot of loot and plunder there. And then, because of the intense heat of North India, they went back. So they did plunder, parts of the Delhi Sultanate, the region of Punjab. But because of the intense heat, they went back. 10th question. Can you explain which one? Which statement you are confused, Roshan? Question 10. Can you explain, please? Okay. So it was during the reign of Iltutmish that Genghis Khan reached the Indus in pursuit of the fugitive Khwarizmi prince. That is correct, right? 1 and 3 are both. No. 3 is not correct. It was during the reign of Devaraya II of Vijayanagara that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala. No, it was during the reign of Narsimha II, Roshan. The third statement is also wrong. I have given the answer here. Narsimha II is the answer, not Devaraya II. Devaraya II was the greatest of the Sangama dynasty. Okay, whereas Narsimha II belonged to the Saluva dynasty. We'll come to that. When I come to Vijayanagara next week, I'll talk about it. Ankush, Roshan, are you there with me? Clear? So this is about Delhi Sultanate. Kennedy, I have already spoken about, the Genghis Khan chasing Jalaluddin Mangbarani. I've already spoken about it when I did the slave dynasty. Bhimare, what I represent in between words. I didn't understand what I. Not very clear your question, Bhimare. Can you be specific? your question is not very clear, Bhimane. I'm not able to understand your question. Okay. Diwani Insha. I'm not very sure about that. Diwani I okay. Diwani Arish. Maybe off. You know, de- department off. Or maybe that. I'm not very sure about I. Gunjan, what is your question? Gunjan, you're saying Sayeds, you want to discuss about Sayeds. I want to discuss about Sayeds. You have to be specific, Gunjan. Please ask me your doubts. I have to go to the next chapter. Important departments. Please remember the important departments and the founders of those departments. They could ask you questions. They could ask you, right? Okay, I move to the next chapter, the Mughal Empire. Khizr Khan was the founder. He could have asked me. Okay, Mughal Empire. Okay, what do you know about the Mughals? What do you know about the Mughals? Let's talk. Let's start this chapter, the Mughal Empire. What do you know about the Mughals? Akbar. Okay, Sakshi. Akbar was the greatest. Okay, Babur was the founder, right? Then Taj Mahal. Okay, okay, fine. Sakshi says Taj Mahal. Great. Descendants of Genghis Khan. Okay, Kennedy. Okay, interesting. Last ruler Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah the second. Okay, we'll come back here. Good, thank you. You know quite a lot about the Mughal Empire. Laghima says Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, so the Mughals. Okay, now look here. Understand this? Okay, fine. Thank you. Those are all later Mughals. We'll come back here. So the Mughal Empire was established by Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur in the year 1526. I told you, we have discussed this just now. Ibrahim Lodi. Ibrahim was the Lodi ruler. And three people invited a certain Babur. Babur was ruling over Kabul. Babur was the ruler of Kabul in Afghanistan. And these three people separately invited Babur to attack Delhi. And Babur already was planning an attack for the fourth time. He had attacked the borders of India 4 times. These are called exploratory raids of Babur. He had conquered a few forts on the borders of India. Fifth time he was planning an attack. And then you have these three people inviting Babur. And Babur came. And then happened the first battle of Panipat. Babur killed Ibrahim Lodi and established the Mughal Empire. So the Mughal Empire established by Babur lasted from 1526 to 1707. So here in medieval India, we end with the death of Aurangzeb. These are the great Mughals. Great Mughals ruled from 1526 to 1707. And from 1707 till 1857-58, we have the rule of the later Mughals, a poor replica of the great Mughals. These are called the later Mughals, the sons and successors of Aurangzeb. Now, who are the great Mughals? The first 6 Mughals are called the great Mughals. You see on your screen Babur. Babur was the founder. Then we have Humayun, his son, who succeeded Babur. Then Akbar, who succeeded Humayun. Then Jahangir or Salim, who took the title of Jahangir. Then Shah Jahan, and finally Aurangzeb. So these are the great Mughals, 1526 to 1707. Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb. So we discussed this. On your screen, you see a map here. This is the kingdom of Babur. What you see in blue color outline, this is the kingdom of Babur. Okay, so this is the Mughal Empire under Babur, 1525. That's how the Mughal Empire looked. This yellow was added by Akbar. Akbar died in 1605. And this orange was added by Aurangzeb. So the maximum territorial extent of the Mughal Empire happened under Aurangzeb. The zenith of the Mughal Empire was under Aurangzeb in terms of territorial expansion, right? So they all ruled almost the whole of India under Aurangzeb. So he conquers the kingdoms, the Deccani kingdoms of the Bahmani kingdoms of Bijapur and Golconda. So he annexed them in 1686 and 1687 respectively. So we'll talk about them. Babur. So here, let us talk about this man called Babur, right? What brought him to India and how this first battle of Panipat happened. So let me give you a background about Babur. Clear, all of us? You are confused between Humayun and Shah Jahan. Don't get confused, Gunjan. Once you listen to the class, you will not get confused. Hopefully, that's what I pray. So let's start. Now, please understand, Mughals are known more by their titles than by their real names. For example, we have, uh, you know, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. His real name was Zahiruddin Muhammad. Babur means tiger. Tiger was his title. Then Mirza Nasruddin Muhammad Humayun. So his real name was Mirza Nasruddin Muhammad. Humayun was his title. Fortunate. Humayun means fortunate. But it's a different question, different thing, that his life was full of unfortunate circumstances, all his own making. We'll talk about Humayun, very fascinating fellow. Then Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. So real name was Jalal or Jalaluddin Muhammad. Akbar was his title. Then Nuruddin Muhammad Salim. Salim, that was his title. His real name was Salim. He took the title of Jahangir on his accession. Right. So that Khurram. Khurram was the title of the real name of Shah Jahan when he became Sultan. When he became ruler, he took the title of Shah Jahan. In fact, Shah Jahan was the title given by his father to him. We'll talk about it. And then, of course, we have Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb means ornament of the throne. Muhi al-Din Aurangzeb. Muhi al-Din was his real name, whereas Aurangzeb means title, ornament of the throne. Aurangzeb means ornament of the throne. So Mughals are known more by their titles than by their real names. We'll talk about it. Now, who was this Babur? Look here. Babur. So I'll go up to the map here. Go look on your screen. You can see this map. So look at the map here. Babur was the ruler of Fargana. Where is Fargana? See, Fargana is here. Fargana. This is Fargana. Okay, and then you have another place called Samarkand. You see Samarkand here. Now I'll use a fresh page. So Babur's father was a man called Sheikh Mirza. Sheikh Mirza. He was the king of Fargana. And once Sheikh Mirza died, Babur succeeded his father to the throne of Fargana. So Babur became the king of Fargana. Now, during those days, there were three powerful political entities in Central Asia. We have the Safavids. Understand this? The Safavids, who ruled Persia. The Safavid dynasty, which ruled Persia. Persia is another name for Iran, right? And who was the king of Iran? His name was Shah Ismail. Shah Ismail, the king of Persia. So this is number one. Number two, we have the Uzbeks. Uzbeks. His name was Shaibani Khan Uzbek. Shaibani Khan Uzbek. And the third political entity were the Ottoman Turks. Right? Ottoman Turks, who ruled from Constantinople. So that was these were the three powerful political powers in Central Asia, competing with each other, vying with each other for domination over Central Asia. The Safavids of Persia or Iran under their king Shah Ismail, The Uzbeks under Shahabani Khan Uzbek and the Ottoman Turks. Now look here, understand this. Please understand this. This is what is called destiny, which brought Babur to India. Understand this. So Sheikh Mirza died, right? Father of Babur died, and Babur became the ruler of Fargana. Babur had an ambition. What was his ambition? He wanted to conquer Samarkand. Babur's ambition was to conquer Samarkand. Samarkand was the ancestral homeland of the Mughals. You see here, I go to the map. You see Samarkand. This is Samarkand, right? He wanted to conquer Samarkand. And both the times, understand this, both two times he conquered Samarkand. Babur was supported by the king of Persia, Shah Ismail. So Shah Ismail used to support Babur. Until Shah Ismail was there, Babur did not have any trouble, did not have any problem, because he had the blessings of Shah Ismail and his support. Once Shah Ismail died, Babur lost that support. And two times he conquered Samarkand. Babur conquered Samarkand twice. But both the times, so he conquered Samarkand twice, but both the times, this man, Shabani Khan Uzbek, this person called Shabani Khan Uzbek, snatched Samarkand from Babur. He took away Samarkand from Babur. And then Shabani Khan Uzbek also conquered Fargana from Babur. So Babur lost Samarkand both the times, and then he also lost his kingdom Fargana to Shaybani Khan Uzbek. So Babur became a king without a kingdom. He had no kingdom with him because Fargana is now under the control of Shaybani Khan Uzbek. Now what did Babur do? Far away in Kabul, if you look at the map here on your screen, you see Kabul is here. This is Kabul. You see here? Kabul. So far away, his uncle was ruling. Babur's uncle was ruling Kabul. So he took his army, Babur, after losing Fargana, and he attacked Kabul. And he conquered Kabul from his uncle. Are you there with me? Hello, all of you. Are you clear till here? Understand the background about Babur? Can you raise your hands? Can I continue? Right. So he conquers Kabul from his uncle. And when he was in Kabul, when Babur was ruling over Kabul, he began to think, what if this Shaybani Khan Uzbek again attacks Kabul? He has already conquered Fargana. What if he attacks Kabul and again lose everything? And Babur began to think of conquering a few parts of India. Now look here. Babur was the descendant of Taimur from his father's side. Understand this. Babur was a descendant of Taimur from his father's side and Genghis Khan from his mother's side. Genghis Khan. So he was a descendant of Taimur from his father's side and Genghis Khan from his mother's side. So the blood of two Mongol warriors was running in his veins. And if you remember, Taimur had plundered Delhi in 1398 and 99. That had also brought the end of the Tughlaq dynasty. So when he had attacked India, this Taimur had conquered a few parts of India. Like, for example, he had conquered a few parts of Punjab. He had conquered Kabul. He had conquered Kandahar. He had conquered Herat. So these are called Timurid principalities. These are called what? Timurid principalities. And since his descendant, Babur was a descendant of Taimur, and Taimur had conquered a few parts of Punjab, while he was ruling Kabul, Babur thought that he has a right over those parts of the Punjab because he was a descendant of Taimur. And if he gets control of those parts of Punjab, then he'll be very safe. Because even if Shaybani Khan Uzbek conquers Kabul, Babur can still go to Punjab and live there safely. So he was thinking like this. Did you understand? He was thinking on these lines that if he has a right over those parts of the Punjab, which once upon a time his ancestor Taimur had conquered, and if he brings those areas of the Punjab under his control, he will be on a safer ground. So he was thinking on these lines. And when he was ruling Kabul, he attacked a few forts on the borders of India and conquered them in 4 exploratory raids. So he raided into India 4 times. 4 times he raided into India. and he conquered a few forts on the borders of India. Now, please understand, we have the push and the pull factors here working in the mind of Babur. Push and pull factors. What is this push and pull factors working in his mind? Push is, it was like Kabul was pushing him away from, Kabul was pushing him away towards India because he was not interested in Kabul. Semi-arid zone, desert area, Kabul, not much of resources. Whereas Punjab, land of 5 rivers. So he was, getting pulled towards Punjab mentally. And you have the push and pull factors working in his brain. So here he had thought of conquering a few parts of Punjab to remain on safe ground so that even if he loses Kabul to Shahbani Khan Uzbek, he can stay in Punjab or live in Punjab. And he was planning a fifth attack when you have three people inviting Babur. Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, Alam Khan Lodi, the uncle of Ibrahim Lodi, and Rana Sanga or Rana Sangram Singh, the ruler of Mewar. These three people separately invited Babur to attack Delhi, and they told Babur that if he attacks Delhi, they will support him. Now, what is the reason as to why these three people, you can see on your screen, Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, Alam Khan Lodi, the uncle of Ibrahim, and Rana Sangha, the ruler of Mewar. Why did these three people invite Babur to attack Delhi? They thought, please understand, all these three people had a secret desire to rule from Delhi. They thought Babur will come, we will support Babur, right? Babur will either defeat or kill Ibrahim Lodi. He will plunder and loot Delhi, and then he'll go back to Kabul. And then once he goes away to Kabul, then they can rule from Delhi. So this is the plan they had. They wanted Babur to do all the donkey's job of fighting against Ibrahim Lodi, defeating or killing him. And they presumed that he will plunder and loot and he'll not stay back in Delhi because all the plunderers, invaders had not stayed back in Delhi. Ghazni came, plundered, looted, and went back. Ghori came, plundered, looted, and went back. Right? Similarly, Taimur came and he had done the same thing. Genghis Khan came to the borders of India and he went back. So they thought Babur will do the same. He'll come, plunder and loot, maybe kill or defeat Ibrahim Lodi, and he'll go back. Right? And once he goes back, they can rule from Delhi. So they had the secret ambition of ruling from Delhi. They separately invited Babur, and Babur came. And please understand, Babur was a man who had studied about India, who had collected information about India even before he had come to India, even before he had attacked the borders of India. So how did he collect information? He collected information from merchants and traders and also Sufi saints. So he spoke to them and he collected information and he came to know much about India. We'll talk about Babur and his autobiography in some time. So what Babur did is he comes and he knew about the strength of the army of Ibrahim Lodi, 1 lakh strong army. When did the first battle of Panipat happen? Look here, April the 21st, 1526. This is the date of the first battle of Panipat. And Babur was found there almost 10 days back. He was on the field of Panipat 10 days back. And then for 8 days, day and night, he prepared the battlefield. Now look here on your screen. This is how he prepared the battlefield. So like you're preparing for the UPSC exam and it requires thorough preparation and no aspect of the syllabus should be left. You should not be overlooking any part of the exam or any aspect of the syllabus. So thorough preparation is required, planning is required for that. Babur did not take it lightly because he knew the strength of Ibrahim's army, 1 lakh. And he had only an army of 12,000 cavalry, 12,000 soldiers. And the soothsayers, the astrologers of his court, had warned him not to go to battle. They said the stars foretell his doom, that he'll be killed, or maybe definitely defeated, but also maybe killed. Therefore, he should not go to battle. But Babur had great faith in his God Allah and in his own capacity. So he, set aside the counsel of these advisors, soothsayers and astrologers, and he came to the battlefield of Panipat and he prepared the battlefield. How did he prepare the battlefield? Look here on your screen. Imagine this white board is the battlefield of Panipat. He dug a trench. He got a trench dug up about 10 to 15 feet in depth, and he covered this trench with dry leaves, branches of trees. So he has covered this with dry branches of trees, leaves, etc. And then he bought 700 bullock carts. 700 bullock carts were bought by him. Bullock carts. And these bullock carts were stationed here. Imagine these are the bullock carts. These bullock carts are chained. These bullock carts are chained to each other. So he uses chains to chain them like this. These are the chains. Okay, these are the bullock carts. And then on top of the bullock carts and underneath, behind their wheels, you have the bullock cart wheels. So behind the bullock cart wheels sat the tirandas. That is the archers, the expert archers of Babur. They're called tirandas. Tirandas. And on the bullock carts, you have the bullock cart. On the bullock cart sat the barakandas. Barakandas are musketeers, skilled musketeers. Barakandas. That is, they have those long rifles with them. Self-loading. What do you call shoulder-bearing, bearing rifles, long rifles. You can only use it one time. They're called barakandas, right? They sat on the bullock carts, and then he has deployed. He has deployed cannons in between. So he has placed his cannons. These are the cannons he has placed in between. Okay, so these are the cannons he has placed. Artillery. Then Babur was the person who never put his entire army on the battlefield. He divided his army into three parts. He was in the center. He was in the center. You have a right wing and a left wing. So Babur was with his commanders. He divided the army into few parts like this, left wing and a right wing. And then you have a reserve force, a small reserve force. And please understand, his army strength was just 12,000. And these soldiers were battle-hardened soldiers. He had fought many battles in Central Asia. They were all battle-hardened soldiers. They knew what to do in a war, in an emergency, when they were losing or whatever, if they're winning or losing, what they're supposed to do. Each person had a role to play, and they were very well versed in those rules, in those roles. Then what Babur did is he had a flying column here. These are called flying columns of Babur. I'll write FC, flying columns. And then he also barricaded this area. He barricaded this. This was barricaded so that the enemy is only squeezed within this particular arena. So he has organized his army. He has worked 8 days, day and night, and he has got his battle plan ready. Now the spies of Ibrahim Lodi, I believe, came and they collected the news about Babur's army strength, and they went and informed Ibrahim Lodi that Babur has an army strength of just 12,000, and that took cavalry. So Babur relied on entirely cavalry, right? So they came and informed Ibrahim Lodi, and the Delhi army, and Ibrahim was jubilant, was very, very happy. And they were also overconfident because their army strength was 1 lakh. So nothing to worry, just 12,000 soldiers. They thought they can have breakfast, come to the battlefield, and come back for lunch, home. So that's what probably they thought. So here we have the army of Ibrahim. This is the army of Ibrahim. 5 times. You have elephants in the front. Elephants were in the front here. These are the elephants, war elephants. Ibrahim Lodi was in the center with his 2 wings, right? And then also you have infantry behind. This is the infantry. Now the Delhi army comes marching, left, right. So they come marching. And then the people in the front, the soldiers in the front, they notice something which they had never noticed. Even the elephants, people who are sitting on the elephants, they notice bullock carts, hundreds of bullock carts on the battlefield of Panipat. And they have never seen bullock carts in their life, on a battlefield. And they start wondering, what are the bullock carts doing on the battlefield? And they stop. The soldiers in the front rank or the front row stop. There's confusion in the ranks because people behind them are wondering why the soldiers in the front have stopped. And so there's confusion in the ranks of Ibrahim Lodi, and Babur now utilizes this confusion. He orders these flying columns to attack. So this is the flying columns. These are the flying columns of Babur. You can see here, what is these flying columns? These are fast galloping horses. You have mounted archers on them. So the horses are galloping. The archers are standing on the horses, on their stirrups. They're standing on their stirrups right? And they are shooting arrows at the enemy. And what is their duty? Their duty is to surround the enemy. So their aim is to surround the enemy all the while, shooting arrows at the enemy. And then simultaneously, Babur orders his cannons to fire. So the artillery goes boom. So the artillery starts firing. Now, Ibrahim Lodi's elephants, which are in the front, take the brunt of those cannonballs, cannonball attack. So when the artillery balls are fired, those ammunition comes and hit the elephants. So the elephants are shocked, right? And then many of them collapse. Many of them turn back and they start trampling on their own soldiers. So this is the time when Ibrahim orders his horsemen to attack. But then when the horsemen go further, they fall into the ditch there. They fall into these ditches. So the war began at 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 a.m. the battle began. Right by 6 p.m. the battle was over. Now, what was this technique called, which Babur used? He uses two novel techniques: Tulguma, and Ottoman Rumi. This is called Tulguma and Ottoman Rumi. What is Tulguma? This is called wheeling tactics. You see, no, told you flying columns. That's called wheeling tactics. That is surrounding the enemy with horses, with mounted archers, and all the while uh, shooting arrows at them. And Ottoman Rumi is alternate arrangement of cannons, bullock carts, and horses. So this particular arrangement, this is called Ottoman Rumi. So the battle began at 9 o'clock in the morning. By 6 p.m. it was over. But Ibrahim Lodi lay dead on the battlefield. The Delhi army was destroyed by Babur's soldiers. And this was a thrilling victory scored by Babur. And Babur went and sat on the throne of Delhi and thus established the Mughal Empire. This is the first battle of Panipat. Did you understand this? Hello, are you there with me? Right? So Babur uses two novel techniques. You see here, wheeling tactics or Tulguma, learned from Shaibani Khan Uzbek. These tactics were alien to the Delhi Sultans. They did not know about these war techniques. And that is the reason why they were defeated. Wheeling tactics or Tulguma, learned from Shaibani Khan Uzbek, and Rumi, that is alternate arrangement of, please take down, alternate arrangement of cannons, horses, and carts, that is bullock carts. So you see why bullock carts? Because they'll give an elevation to the barakandas. They can from a height shoot at the enemy. At the same time, the behind the bullock cart wheel sat the tirandas, the expert archers of Babur. So they have a shield with them. At the same time, they have to minimize their casualties because they are less in number. So the bullock cart wheels will take the arrows from the opposite direction. Even if they miss them, they have their shield to protect them. So double protection for his archers, and they were able to uh, harm the Delhi army with devastating effect. And this was the end of the first battle of Panipat. Babur had won, and he established the Mughal Empire. Okay, so this was the first time artillery or gunpowder was used on the soil of North India. Understand this. This was a UPSC question asked. This was the first time that artillery or gunpowder was used on the soil of North India by Babur. So 1526, April 21st. In the first battle of Panipat, he uses gunpowder. So you might naturally ask this question: when was gunpowder used for the first time on the soil of India? The answer is 1367. The answer is 1367 in the Battle of Mudkal. In the Battle of Mudkal, it was fought between the Vijayanagara king Bukka the First. It was fought between Bukka the First and the Bahmani Sultan Muhammad Shah Bahmani. And in this Battle of Mudkal, it was Muhammad Shah Bahmani who uses gunpowder for the first time on the soil of North India. Sorry, on the soil of India. On the soil of India, it was used for the first time in 1367. On the soil of North India, it was first used by Babur in the field of Panipat, in the first battle of Panipat. Are you there with me? No, bullocks were not present. This one, what will the bullocks do? Only in Bahumali movie, bullocks are there. They have put fire to the bullocks, the horns, and they are using, in the Bahubali movie. Not in the first battle of Panipat. No, these are only bullock carts without the bullocks. Right? Okay. Right. Now look here. So Babur never went back to Kabul. Why will he want to go to the desert area, semi-arid zone? No, it was the Bahmani Sultan, Bhimare. It was Muhammad Shah Bahmani who uses gunpowder against Bukka. In fact, it was Bukka who entered the Bahmani kingdom, conquered Mudkal, and he needled the Bahmani Sultan. So the Bahmani Sultan got angry. He enters the territory of Vijayanagara, defeated Bukka, but he was not able to conquer Hampe, the capital of Bukka, or Bukka himself. But in this battle, he was able to defeat Bukka, and he uses gunpowder for the first time on the soil of India. This is in the Battle of Mudkal, 1367. Please remember the date and the battle and the person who used it. And please understand, Babur gave the credit of his victory to his cavalry. Babur had established the Mughal Empire. And this is the first battle of Panipat. Now what happened? The people who had invited Babur, when they came to know that Babur did not go back to Kabul, he decided to stay back in India, that too in Delhi, turned against him. They had their own calculation as to why they had invited Babur. When that calculation misfired or did not work according to their plan, they turned against Babur. So here we have next year, understand this, next year in 1527, we have the Battle of Kanua. The Battle of Kanua. And we have this king, Rana Sangha of Mewar, Rana Sangram Singh, one of the persons who were invited Babur, Rana Sangha. What happened to this? Yeah. So Rana Sangram Singh, Rana Sangha of Mewar, organized an army of 2 lakh Rajputs. So all the small, big kingdoms of North India, the Rajput kingdoms, they all joined together, and he organized an army of 2 lakh Rajputs and declared war against Babur, Rana Sangram Singh, Rana Sangha of Mewar. And in this 1 year time period between the first battle of Panipat and the battle of Kanua, Babur's army had increased to 40,000. Babur's army strength was now 40,000. Either way, these 40,000 soldiers of Babur had to fight an army 5 times their size. That is a 2 lakh Rajput army. 5 times the size of Babur's army. And when the soldiers of Babur came to know the strength of the army of Rana Sangha, they put down their weapons. They refused to fight. Babur's soldiers refused to fight. They said that we are severely outnumbered. They are 5 times the size of our army. And no way we can defeat these Rajputs, because either they'll kill or they get killed. These Rajputs, they will not run away. Therefore, we will not fight. So they put down their weapons, the soldiers of Babur. And that is the time we see the leadership qualities displayed by Babur. Babur gave a stirring speech. He stood amongst the soldiers and he gave a speech. So that's what a leader is made of, isn't it? Leadership qualities are seen during such times. So Babur, he gave a speech. He told his soldiers, this is not an ordinary war. What you're going to fight is not going to be an ordinary war. It is jihad. He called it as jihad. That is holy war. He said this is holy war. And he took the title of Ghazi. He called himself as Ghazi. He took the title of Ghazi. What is the meaning of Ghazi? Holy warrior. And he told each and every one of his soldiers, if you die in this battlefield, you will get a direct ticket to Jannat. You will get a direct ticket to paradise, heaven, where you can meet God, Allah. What more do you want? So when the soldiers came to know about this, they were very happy. They can directly meet God, Allah. So they picked up their weapons, right? So he uses religion here. He uses religion to motivate his soldiers. So he called this as jihad, and then he excused understand this, he excused the taxes. He told his soldiers, I'll excuse all your taxes. You don't need to pay any taxes, right? And also, since this is a holy war, what did Babur do? You have huge amount of wealth stored in the Mughal camp in pots. So they were all filled up with wine, and liquor in those pots, mud pots. He broke up all those pots in front of his soldiers, saying that you cannot drink wine because this is a holy war. fought for the sake of Allah, God Allah. At the same time, Mughal camp to entertain the soldiers. So no women would be allowed, and no wine would be allowed. So and then he gave a stirring speech. When he gave this speech, when they heard his speech, and when he said that it is jihad, holy war, fought for the sake of Allah, his soldiers picked up their weapons. And then Babur used the same technique which he used in the first battle of Panipat, Tulguma and Ottoman Rumi. And in this battle of Kanua, which is considered to be a much more serious battle than the first battle of Panipat, the Rajput army was decimated by Babur's soldiers. It is said that Babur's soldiers fought like tigers, each one of them, 40,000 against a 2 lakh Rajput army. And Rana Sanga was grievously wounded in this battle. And after a few days, he died. And Babur had scored a thrilling victory. This is the second battle he fought, Battle of Kanua. Then we have another battle which he fought in the next year, 1528, the Battle of Chanderi. The Battle of Chanderi against Medini Rai, the king of Chanderi, Medini Rai. So he fought against battle. He fought the Battle of Chanderi, defeated Medini Rai, and conquered Chanderi. And then 1529, the Battle of Ghagra. This is a sequential order in which he fought these battles. Battle of Ghagra. You have the kings of Bengal and Bihar who joined together against Babur. The king of Bihar, that is Muhammad Lodi of Bihar. Muhammad Lodi of Bihar and Nusrat Shah of Bengal. They joined against Babur. But then in the Battle of Ghagra, Babur was able to defeat both these kings. Even Muhammad Lodi and Nusrat Shah of Bengal both were defeated. So 4 years he fought 4 battles. First Battle of Panipat, 1526, Battle of Kanua, 1527, Battle of Chanderi, 1528, Battle of Ghagra, 1529. And then Babur had become the master of Hindustan. From Himalayas to Narmada, central India, everything was his. What was his desire? He wanted only a part of the Punjab. When he had nothing, when he was sitting in Kabul and he was contemplating what to do, his only desire was that he should get a part of the Punjab, which once upon a time his ancestor Taimur had conquered. But then destiny had other plans and he had become the master of Hindustan. From Himalayas to Narmada, everything was his. And then what happened? After establishing this huge empire, in just 4 years, and please understand, his eldest son was Humayun. Humayun was his eldest son and still a young boy in his 20s, like you people. And this boy, Humayun, Babur's eldest son, had supported his father, had fought all these battles. He had fought in all these battles, Humayun. And Humayun, unfortunately, was on his deathbed. He was suffering from some ailment. And the Hakims came. Hakim means doctor, Ayurvedic doctors, Unani doctors. They administered the medicines, but Humayun was not responding to those medicines. His pulse became very slow. His heart was beating very slow. And then the Hakims gave up hope. They told Babur that we have tried all our all the medicines, all the line of treatment we have tried, but he's not responding, and we don't know why he's not responding. Therefore, they said, please pray to Allah. Please pray to Allah, and maybe with his wish and his blessings, he might survive. So Babur has a father, he was very pained, I believe. What did he do? He entered into his private prayer hall. He had a prayer hall. He entered the prayer hall, shut the door, and he began to do namaz. He began to pray to his God Allah day and night. And in that prayer of his, he began to ask for an exchange of life. He told in his prayers to God Allah, I have lived my life. So whatever balance of life I have, you give it away to my son. So save my son and you take away my life. And it seems that his prayers were answered. Miraculously, Humayun began to show signs of life. He began to recover slowly. And Babur fell sick. Simultaneously, Babur fell sick. And by the time Humayun fully recovered, Babur was on his deathbed. Right? Now, how do we know all these things? We know this from Babur's autobiography, Tuzuki Baburi or Baburnama, which he writes in Chagatai Turkish language, In this autobiography of his, all these details are mentioned by Babur. And historians call Babur because has the prince amongst autobiographers. He had no knowledge of history writing, but whatever he wrote it in a very simple language, and and it's very very authentic. It comes from his heart. Whatever he wrote, he writes about Kabul, he writes about Fargana, and also the third part he writes about India. I'll talk about it in some time. Just hold on. So it is said that Humayun had fully recovered, and by that time Humayun had fully recovered, Babur was on his deathbed. So Babur called his son Humayun and told him. So Babur had many wives, and from them many sons. So he had three sons apart from Humayun. Humayun was his eldest son. Humayun was his eldest son. Then he had other sons like Kamran. He had Kamran, Askari, and Hindal. So these are the sons of Babur. Humayun was his eldest. So he called his eldest son Humayun and told his son Humayun, I have established this empire with a lot of great difficulty. What is I want you to give me a promise. You should treat your stepbrothers as your own brothers and divide the empire which I have established equally amongst your stepbrothers. You don't take a larger part just because you're elder to them. You equally divide the empire amongst your stepbrothers. That's the promise he asked from Humayun. And Humayun promised his father on his deathbed that he will do that. And then Babur died. He was initially buried at Agra, and later he was buried in a terrace of a garden at Kabul, according to his wish. And according to his wish, he said, no ceiling should surmount my grave. There should be no roof over my grave. So he has been reburied at Kabul in the terrace of a garden, which doesn't have a roof or a ceiling over it. Okay, this is about Babur. Okay, I think I've run out of time. No, jihad is jihad. He called that battle as jihad, holy war, fought for the sake of God Allah. Yes. No, you see, Jaswant, yesterday I told you when I spoke about Johar, I told you Babur defeated Rana Sangram Singh, and after some time, Rana Sangram Singh died because of the battle wounds. But then you see, at the same time, you have the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat, the king of Gujarat, attacked Mewar, taking advantage of the death of Rana Sangram Singh. And Rani Karnavati sought the help of Humayun. Right? Babur had died, and Humayun, she sought the help of Humayun. But then Humayun could not come on time. So yesterday's class, remember that. Babur died of illness. Yeah, Babur, of course, died of illness, but then he slowly, his health slowly deteriorated. So you can say, just as Humayun was simultaneously recovering, Babur's health was slipping down, and he died. Right, that's how he died. So, and he was able to still record whatever happened till the last moment of his life. So all these details are given by Babur in his autobiography, Tusuki Baburi or Babur Nama. So Babur died, and he was succeeded by his son Humayun. We'll talk about Humayun on Monday. Okay, so Monday I should finish Mughal Empire. We'll talk about Mughal Empire, Humayun, Akbar. Akbar is the main person in this chapter called Mughal Empire. The administrative reforms of Akbar, the Mansabdari system, the religious policy of Akbar, the conquest of Akbar. So we'll talk about all those things, and of course we'll talk about Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb. So I think I'll call it a day now. I have almost run out of time, but I have begun with Mughal Empire. We'll continue it on Monday. Okay, so you have a good night's sleep and a good weekend, safe weekend. We'll meet on Monday. So I should finish medieval by maximum Tuesday. Then we can start with art and culture from Wednesday onwards. Yeah, Wednesday onwards. Okay. So you have a safe weekend. Keep revising your other lessons also. Apart from history, we'll meet on Monday. Thank you very much. I hope it was interesting. We'll meet on Monday. So then once I finish Mughal Empire, we'll talk about Marathas under Shivaji, then I have Surya dynasty, and then Vijayanagara and regional kingdoms. Okay, thank you very much. Good night. I'm logging out. Any doubts? Any clarifications? So here, I hope the way I'm presenting the subject or the topic is interesting. Because when you go back and read the textbook, almost all the points are covered. But since you have heard my lecture, it becomes easy to relate to whatever has been spoken in the class. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Thank you very much. You carry on. I'll log out. Good night. Have a safe weekend. Manage, revise, Roshan. Look at the questions, because look at the questions and then read extensively, read widely, read the textbooks, finish the PPTs, and then go back and read the textbook. Jaswant, I can only answer subject related question. Please Google, Jaswant, for your doubt. I cannot answer that. Only subject related doubts to be asked. Right? Thank you very much. Good night.